Hello, everyone. I have great news. Hold on one second. One second. One second. Um, I got the book, The Noahide Code by Alan Cecil, and we're going to be starting it today with Claire. She's on her way, as usual. So I don't know what's going on now. At the beginning of all of my, at the beginning of all of my, what's it called? Podcasts. I always let you guys know that I was placed on shadow ban. It seems like it's been lifted, though I'm not sure if everyone's able to get them or not. So it used to be you couldn't find my videos if you went to my channel or if you searched me. And oh, here's Claire. Good. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so just if you want to find all my videos and you're having troubles finding them, go to vincentbrunoshadowban.blogspot.com. It's at the bottom of the screen and it is in the description box. And if you give me a second, Claire, I'm just going to if you could send out the link and let me see if I have. Give me one second. Let me see if my last video showed up. I'm just getting all this ready. Hold on one second. I'm just updating my website with the videos, and then we will start. And give me one second. Let me just do this, and then I will be right back. I just need to update my website with these new videos so that I don't forget. So we're finally done with Secular by Design by Alan Cecil, and I had some plans to try reading some other books, but they didn't work out. They weren't that good. And why isn't this working? And but so we just skipped right over and we're back into Alan Cecil. And Secular by Design was really a tirade. It was anti-Christianity, it was, but it was really a tirade totally against the West and America, and it was really hateful. And Claire, you're going to love. Hold on, wait until I read you the synopsis um for what's it called? This book, The Noahide Code. You'll be really happy with it. If you give me a second, I'll let you know what it is. Just give me a second. I'm almost done updating my website. Almost there. Hold on. Just one more minute. Is today St. Patrick's Day?
I don't know. Let me check. It's possible my diary won't say whether it is or not.
I thought isn't today the 17th? That means it's St. Patrick's Day.
It is. Yes, well, I'm a bit vague about St. Patrick's Day, not being Irish or American.
Is it a big thing in the UK?
Not really. I mean, not really. I know you have parades and stuff in New York, right?
Yes. Yes, we have parades and stuff. Well, St. Patrick will be rolling in his grave because we're just about to get into blasphemy against God, against his triune God, right?
Well, if there's only one God, then he must know whether he is Jesus or not. And I think I think Christians are kind of outnumbered on that because the two other Abrahamic faiths out of the three don't agree with Christians that Jesus is God.
Right. Shit. I fucked something up. We're gonna start in a second. I just need to fix my website.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know it wasn't big in the UK. I'm not surprised since, you know, the UK and Ireland
Well,
have
maybe
this.
in Liverpool it might be a bigger thing, assuming there are still lots of Irish people in Liverpool. But I don't think there are that many Irish people in London. I can check where most Irish people. I know that I can live in Camden. Irish people in London. Where do most Irish people live in London? They live in the Kilburn area of northwest London. But well, I know that area reasonably well. But you just don't think, "Ooh, it's so Irish here." You don't. I mean, it's quite well, quite multicultural, really.
Right. Sorry, I'm almost done. I messed up something. I'm just
That's
fixing.
okay. That's okay. Well, I'll just have a look at the chat to
Is there
see
anyone
that
in?
there's anybody there. And
Oh
Tingle Tank,
yes,
as always, is right there.
yes, he likes my
Yeah, and he
videos.
says, yes, it isn't. So, what are you doing the St. Patrick's Day, Tinkle Tink? And would you be happy sharing with us your location in the Republic?
I
Something to
think
do with a snake.
he's from Ireland, I thought. I think he's from
Yes,
Ireland. Yeah, Tinkle Tink's from Ireland. Okay, so you want to get started?
go right ahead. You want
Okay.
to read the first chapter of the first chapter.
Now, let me read you the little synopsis first, because you're going to see how much you're going to love this book. I thought of you as soon as I saw it. What is this? Okay, I don't know what this is. Okay. Adam and Eve were driven from the Garden of Eden because they disregarded it. Cain was punished for defying it. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah were decimated for violating it. The generations of Noah met with destruction for desecrating it. Before the law was given to Mount Sinai, there was a simple moral code that all of mankind was to live by, a code of conduct that long antedated the Ten Commandments. Yet, for nearly 2,000 years, Christians have forbade its teaching, fearing that if adopted, it would make Christianity obsolete and relegate the triune deity to the dustbin of theological history, along with the ancient gods of Zeus, Isis, and Mithra. It is called the Noahide Code, and those who learn about it will never look at the Bible the same way again. How did you like that, Claire?
It's a robust denunciation of Christianity, but I could do it worse. Because he
Okay,
doesn't talk about the idolatry of Christianity.
he's going to talk about Christianity. He's going to talk about the idolatry of Christianity.
All right.
Ooh, so this was published by his own website, Academy of Shem, and I don't know. It says Aventura, Florida. I don't know if he lives in Florida or not. Okay, it's dedicated to someone named T, just the capital letter T. Okay, so it starts out with the Noahide Code. Do not worship idols, do not blaspheme, do not murder, do not steal, do not engage in illicit sex, do not harm animals unnecessarily, do not fail to establish courts to enforce these laws. I love Alan Cecil. Everyone, all of Chat GPT needs to read Alan Cecil because she keeps demanding that there's no such thing as courts or punishments. She's like, there are no courts, there are no punishments. Okay, she needs to fucking read Alan Cecil. But then when you correct her, and
Well,
then
there
I'll
are no
have
existing courts.
I know, but it's still supposed to happen. It's not part of the thing. And then she changes her mind whenever I say, well, Alan Cecil says you need to set up courts. And then she's like, well, there's differing opinions. Then she gets into that whole there's differing opinions. But if you just ask her, she'll say there's no courts or punishments.
And that would be technically true.
No, meaning that there are never any courts or punishments, that you're never gone to court and you'll never be punished ever, 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 ever.
Because, well, if you ask Jews, it's like, well, will you be setting up courts, Noahide courts for Gentiles? And the Jews would say, no, 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 it won't be, we wouldn't dream of doing such a thing.
No,
Your courts are perfectly fine.
the
We wouldn't dream of
Gentiles set up the courts.
interfering.
I know it's all subterfuge, but Alan Cecil's not lying. Okay, I like Alan Cecil because he doesn't pull punches.
I think we should just make a distinction. And a lot of people don't get that because they're not able to make the distinction between an idea in theory and whether it's happening now. They always get confused, and I think Chat GPT is, because on the one hand she's told, there are no high courts, and on the other hand, um, well, the position is
No,
confused,
she
isn't
knows
it?
she knows very well there's punishments. She's just programmed to say that there are no punishments because she corrects herself whenever I show her information about punishments. So she knows she's lying. You know what I mean? She knows she's lying. Okay, let's start. This is a really short book. We're only going to read about the reading part of it is, give me one second, is about 114 pages. So let's start. Introduction. Recent popular works are capturing the public's imagination by suggesting the possibility of ancient secret teachings long suppressed by the church, the exposure of which may well prove harmful to the long entrenched institution of Christianity. Unlike the fictional Holy Grail story, however, ample evidence exists proving just such teachings that the early church fathers fought hard to revise, conceal, and eradicate. One of the teachings that Christianity endeavored to keep from the public is called the Noahide Code. Now, he made this accusation in his last book that Christianity forbade its teaching. I haven't seen anything where there was actually an official edict against teaching this or something. The Noahide Code, as an ancient teaching of Judaism, is a moral and legal code made up of 7 laws that, excuse me, that all non-Jews are to observe. 2 laws fall into the category of what may be considered religion: the prohibitions against idolatry, only the God of Israel is to be worshipped, and blasphemy, the prohibition against cursing the God of Israel. 3 laws deal with human relations, prohibiting theft, murder, and engaging in illicit sex, such as adultery, homosexuality, or bestiality. There is 1 law not to harm animals unnecessarily, such as eating the limb of an animal or consuming its blood while it is still alive. And the final law, the establishment of courts of justice to ensure the other 6 laws are the foundation of society's legal system. Thank you. The 7 laws are both new and ancient. They are ancient because they constitute the original moral law God gave to humanity, and they are new because they have been ignored or forgotten, swept under the rug by Christianity, and are only now gaining widespread acceptance. As far back as Roman times, most Christian societies forbade rabbis from teaching these laws, often under penalty of death. Really? However, since the founding of the State of Israel in 1948, the rabbis are once again free to teach the Noahide Code without fear of reprisal from non Jewish governments. As books and commentaries about the Noahide Code became available to the public, the Noahide movement has been growing in the United States, Australia, Belgium, Britain, Germany, Russia, Pakistan, South America, and the Philippines. In many societies throughout the world, non-Jews who have found out about the Noahide Code have felt drawn to its ancient law. What makes the Noahide Code different from any other religious movement is what I call the Noahide perspective. A non-Jew who embraces the 7 laws will look at the Bible in a new way and will understand Scripture from a Torah-based viewpoint rather than a Christian one. Hold on. Many, if not most, of the people who have embraced the Noahide Code came out of conservative and fundamentalist Christianity. The knowledge they have of their former religion, as well as their Torah-based approach, gives the Noahide a unique perspective on Christianity. Needless to say, there are majority differences between the 2 phases of Christianity and B'nai Noah, in Hebrew meaning children of Noah. Noahides reject the claim that Jesus is God and do not believe that he was or is the Messiah. Likewise, the Noahide denies the New Testament is authoritative as scripture or even reliable as an untainted document of history. Instead, the Noahide affirms the authority of the Torah, the Hebrew name for the initial five books of the Bible, the five books of Moses, respecting and following its teaching as well as its guiding instructions of the Jewish rabbis. This book is a response to the widespread amount of misinformation being promulgated by the Noahide about the Noahide Code. As the Noahide movement grows, many Christians exhibit an almost Machiavellian paranoia about the increasing interest in the Noahide Code. Gee, I wonder why they're paranoid. Many entertain wild notions that when the Congress of the United States recognized the seven laws, it was the first step in a new world order, or that if Noahides were to control the courts, they would have one's head removed for being a Christian. This book serves to help you understand a little of the philosophy behind the seven laws and why observant Christians are leaving the church and taking up the Noahide Code. Many Christians feel disillusioned about their religion, sensing there is something not quite kosher about Christianity, and searching for spiritual truth. And for these Christians, as well as the Christians that feel threatened by the Noahide Code, I've endeavored to explain why the Noahide disagrees with the tenets of Christian faith and instead aligns itself with the teachings of Judaism, a religion that mainstream Christianity regards as irrelevant after the coming of Jesus. The first part of this book addresses two of the major arguments that Christians use against the Noahide laws by affirming the validity of the seven laws of Noah as opposed to Christianity, as well as the validity of the Talmud as opposed to the New Testament. The second part of this book addresses a few of the specific concepts of the seven Noahide laws. This book does not teach halakha. There are already several fine books available for that. My purpose in writing this is to help Christians look at the Bible from a Noahide perspective and show one how to mine the riches of Torah and understand the place of the non Jew in today's world. Quotations from the New Testament, including Nag Hammadi texts, are in italic Arial font and are from the King James Version, except where noted. The traditional King James text has been modernized by the author. Archaic forms of the original English, works such as thou and rememberest, have been changed to you and remember. Quotations from Tanakh will be in bold and will be from the stone Tanakh, except where noted. Okay, that was the introduction. All right, so give me one second. Ooh, this is cute. These are like little short. Hold on. I'm looking at something. Okay. Okay. He's the Nazarenes, but he spelled. Are you there, Claire? Hello? Yeah, I guess people can hear me.
I'm
I just
here.
want.
I'm here. Yes, I've muted myself.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure people could hear me. All right, this is the Nazarenes, but it's spelled with a G. I don't know if that's an alternative spelling or if he's trying to say something. The dynamics of social change often hinge on seemingly chance or random events. In May of 1844, a German scholar from the University of Leipzig named Constantine von Tischendorf was visiting the monastery of St. Catherine in the Sinai Peninsula. During his stay, he noticed a large trash basket full of old, moldy manuscripts in the Great Hall of St. Catherine's. The librarian told Tishrov that the monks were using the old parchments to light the fires of their ovens. Upon closer inspection, he saw that many of the leaves were of an ancient Greek manuscript of the Bible, possibly the most ancient Greek manuscript he had ever seen. He retrieved 43 sheets of the manuscript to take back to his room to study, but the monks refused to show him the rest of it, for they became suspicious about the value of the manuscript due to his excitement in finding it. He left with 43 leaves and made two more unsuccessful trips to the monastery to try to obtain the rest of the manuscript. After many years of negotiations, the monks of St. Catherine gave the manuscripts as a present to the Tsar of Russia in return for a gift of 7,000 rubles. And in 1933, it was told by the Soviet Union, the British, it was sold to the Soviet Union, it was sold by the Soviet Union to the British for the sum of 100,000 pounds. The manuscript was placed in the British Museum where it resides to this very day. The manuscript, that of Tischendorf, retrieved from the wastebasket of St. Catherine's, is now known as Codex Sinaiticus or Codex some Hebrew letter, and it is the oldest complete copy of the Greek New Testament and the only complete unical. What's a uncial? Uncial, making it arguably the most important manuscript in Christianity. Almost Although much of the Old Testament had been destroyed, the New Testament remained intact. What caused a sensation among biblical scholars was that this text had profound differences in the wording and spelling between the Textus Receptus and the name given to the first Greek New Testament printed in movable type. The Textus Receptus has been the standard text for the New Testament for centuries and is still popular today. The King James Bible is based on the Textus Receptus. Biblical scholars, excited by this new find, scored the libraries of churches and private collections for other ancient biblical manuscripts. By the end of the 20th century, archaeologists had also discovered a good number of early New Testament vellum manuscripts and papyri buried in Middle Eastern tombs and in ancient trash heaps. Biblical scholars were now given an opportunity to study the New Testament from actual writings of the early centuries of Christianity rather than the later translations made over 1,000 years or more after the events of the New Testament took place. This significantly increased our knowledge of how the New Testament was put together, as well as giving us a glimpse of early church theology. The impact of the discovery of these early manuscripts was first felt in 1881 when the Revised Version of the New Testament was published. The Revised Version of the RV, as it has become to known, was the first serious challenge to the venerable King James Version, which had been the undisputed English Bible for nearly 3 centuries. The text of the Revised Version was substantially different from the King James Version in many places. It was based upon the Greek text of the Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Vaticanus, a text remarkably similar in age and context to the Codex Sinaiticus, which Tischendorf published in 1862. Tischendorf also published the first reliable edition of the Codex Vaticanus in 1867. The publication of the Revised Version, as well as several subsequent English translations, such as the New International Version, that are also based upon newly discovered texts, caused theological aftershock that have reverberated through Christianity to this day. Okay. Where did I leave? Of greater consequence to Christianity was a library of early Gnostic literature that was unearthed in 1945 at Nag Hammadi in Egypt, a village not far from fabled Valley of the Kings. Several field hands were digging at the base of a cliff when they uncovered a large ceramic jar sealed with bitumen. Breaking it open with their mattocks, they found the jar full of old leather-bound books. As seemed to be the custom in this part of the world when discovering ancient and value manuscripts, the field hands tore up and took them home to light their fires. One of the books soon got into the hands of a local history teacher who recognized its value, and what was left of the ancient library was quickly acquired by a local museum. Okay, Claire's talking to her mother now. Yeah, okay. I don't know who rips up books. The remaining 13 ancient books were in an astonishing find indeed. Although the books written around were written around the same time as Coda Sinaiticus, they were copies of books written much earlier, since several of the books were mentioned in the writings of several of the earlier church fathers. The importance of the books and their impact on Christianity cannot be underestimated. Before the discovery of Nag Hammadi Library, what we knew of Gnosticism was from the writings of the church father, such as Irenaeus Cherilium, Clement of Alexandria, Eusebius argumented by bits and pieces of ancient text. Because of the scarcity of Gnostic writings, the dependence on those who cited and subjectively discoursed scholars did not have a clear understanding of what the Gnostics believed and taught. While the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library, scholars have access to the original Gnostic text, and this discovery shattered many traditional views on Gnosticism, views based on the writings of early church fathers that looked at Gnosticism as a heresy and a major threat to the true church. As the Nag Hammadi text slowly became available to biblical scholars, the Nag Hammadi texts were written in Coptic and they were not completely translated to English until 1977. The influence of Hellenistic elements on the development of the church became better understood. These elements have been a part of Christianity since its beginning, permeating not only the theology and interpretations of the New Testament, but the text of the New Testament itself. When Hellenistic teachings are these Hellenistic teachings are what set Christianity apart from Judaism and the B'nai Noah, and they have the name Gnosticism. All the different forms of today's Christianity, be it Catholicism, Eastern Orthodox, or Protestant, are Gnostic religions, since the founders and teachers of the early Orthodox Church all came from the same Gnostic sects of Hellenistic Pauline. Hellenistic Pauline Christianity. Orthodox Christianity has neither called itself nor considered itself Gnostic. Christians point out the differences between Orthodox Christianity and other Gnostic Christian religions, saying that Christianity is as different from Gnosticism as apples are from oranges. Apples and oranges may have differences when compared to each other, but when both are compared to something quite different, say a cat, the two fruits will appear to have much in common. So it is with Christianity and Gnosticism. They have some minor differences when compared to each other, but when viewed from the Torah-based Noahide perspective, the differences between become insightful and similarities become apparent. Okay, let's read what Tinkle Tink's been saying. You support my new idea, secular Brunoism. Tinkle Tink is from Ireland. It is St. Patrick's Day. Speaking of beheading, is Trump playing John the Baptist role? Remember when the so-called comedian Kathy Griffith held up his beheaded head? The G in front of the Nag Hammadi could suggest knowledge of knowledge. GN equals light, GN equals spark, GN equals sheen. The Nag Hammadi books are very interesting. Are books written by ghosts? No, sis. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Gnosticism is an umbrella term for a wide variety of ancient and mystical religions. Its origins go back to before Christianity, with beginnings that encompass ideas from Eastern Zoroastrianism, Greek philosophy, mystery religions such as Mithraism, and even Jewish mysticism. There are many different forms of Gnosticism, both Christian and non Christian, and there were often substantial differences within a particular school of Gnosticism. Even with these differences, however, there were many teachings shared by Christian Gnostic sects, such as the teachings that the material world is bad or evil and that there is a false god of the world called the demiurge, along with the true God in heaven. The Gnostics taught that salvation cannot come from this material world, one must leave it completely. The only way for a Christian Gnostic to achieve salvation is through secret knowledge from above that was brought down by Jesus. Gnosticism holds to the ideal of the doctrine of the sovereign spirit as a source of direct knowledge and illumination. Man has a soul that has a spark of divine, the spirit or noumena that is trapped in a fleshy material body and can only be saved by a special knowledge. The English word know comes from the same word as Gnostic, the Greek word gnosis, as in teachings of one having known Jesus in order to be saved. This is the concept of secret knowledge of God that comes down from heaven. Christians believe that Jesus taught this secret knowledge of of the apostles, who then taught it in the elect. Even today, when a Christian tells you that you cannot understand the Bible unless you know Jesus, or that the fleshy teachings of the Jews have been supplanted by the spiritual teachings of the church, they are teaching Gnostic theology and concepts. There was never a clear cut division between the Gnostics and early Orthodox Christianity. During the early centuries of the church, indeed, most of the early church congregations were intermingled with both Gnostic and Proto Orthodox Christians, who were often as theologically divided among themselves as the Gnostics. Few of the other ancient Gnostic religions referred to themselves as Gnostics. They all believed that their particular sect was the one true Christianity that understood the teachings and hidden mysteries of God. One of the most important books from the Nag Hammadi was the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of Jesus' sayings without any narratives, not unlike the theoretical lost Gospel of Q. The Gospel of Thomas is believed to be of early origin, even from the end of the first century CE. Many of the sayings in the Gospel of Thomas strikingly resemble those spoken by Jesus in the Synoptic Gospel. Gospel of Thomas, verse 9 says, Jesus said, Listen, O sower, come forth, took Jesus said, Listen, a sower come forth, took a handful, and cast. Now some fell upon the path, and the birds came and picked them out. Others fell upon rocks, and they did not take root in the soil, and did not send up ears. And others fell upon the thorns, and they choked the seeds, and the grubs devoured them. And others fell upon good soil, and it sent up good crops, and yielded 60 per measure, and 120 per measure. Jesus said, You see the specks in your siblings' eyes, but you do not see the beams in your own eyes. When you expel the beam from your own eye, then you will be able to see to expel the speck from the eye of your sibling. Jesus said, If a blind person leads a blind person, both will fall into a hole. That all came from Gospel of Thomas, which sounds similar to things that Jesus said. Note all the books from found in the Nag Hammadi are written about Gnostic Christianity, but others not all of the books found in at the Nag Hammadi are written about Gnostic Christianity, but others, like the Gospel of Thomas, deal exclusively with Christianity. This wide range of Gnostic material from the Nag Hammadi library reflects the range of Gnostic sects, both Christian and non-Christian. There were probably as many, if not more, different sects of Gnosticism as there are Christian sects today. Marcionism, Valentinism, Theodosianism, and Manichaeism are some of the better known Gnostic faiths that flourished for several centuries alongside the Gnostic sects that became the Catholic Church. However, during the early centuries of Christianity, Gnostics were often integrated into mainstream Christian communities, even as leaders and elders, even as leaders and elders. Even in Christianity's early days, there were conflicts with the differences in theology among the various churches, as we observe from Paul's writings in Corinthians 1:10 through 11. It says, Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no division among you, but that you be perfectly joined in the same mind and in the same judgment. For it has been declared to me of you by my brethren, by them which we are of the house of Chloe, that there are contentions among you. I marvel you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Christ unto another gospel, which is not another, but there may be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Christ. 20 years after Jesus' death, we see that schisms were already forming within the church. The first major schism was between the Jewish Christians and the Hellenists. An account of this rift in the early church is found in the New Testament, starting with chapter 6 of Acts of the Apostle. It tells how the Hellenistic infiltrated the early church with which up to that point was nothing more than a messianic Jewish cult. And in those days, when the numbers of the disciples were multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, it says in Acts 6 verse 1. The word Grecians used in Acts 6:1 is the Greek word Grecian lit Hellenistic, literally meaning Hellenistic. The church from that time onward was split into two different camps: the Jewish Torah-based Christians, led by James, Peter, and others apostles, and the mostly Gentile Hellenized Christian later led by and identified with Paul of Tarsus. The New Testament gives us clues about the battle between these two factions. Although we don't know many of the details, we do know the defining moment of the struggle for dominance came after the Second Temple was destroyed and and the outnumbered Jewish Christians, dismayed and scattered book, took a back seat as the Hellenistic took control. 65 years later, these Jewish Christians would be alienated from Judaism as they refused to back Bar Kokhba's rebellion against the Romans because they believed that Jesus was the true Messiah who would come to redeem Israel. Isolated from both the Jews and the Gnostics, they would become known as the Ebionites, and after a few more centuries, vanished from the stage of history, as did other non-Catholic Gnostic sects. More passages in the New Testament tell us about the early struggles between Jewish Christians and the Hellenists. In the beginning of Acts chapter 15, there is a dispute between the Jewish Christians led by James and the apostles of Jerusalem and the Hellenistic Christians led by Paul. And certainly men of those who had believed from the party of the Pharisees came down from Judea, taught the brethren, unless you are circumcised and walk after the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved. Wherein therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them. For Paul spoke maintaining firmly that, for example, converts should stay as they were when converted. But those who had come from Jerusalem ordered them, Paul and Barnabas, and certain others of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders that they might be judged before them about this question. Acts 15 to 13 to 21, the dispute is settled by James. After they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken to me. Simon has declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name, and for this agree the words of the prophet, as it is written, After this I will return, I will build again the tabernacle of David. This is fallen down, and I will build again the ruin therefore, and I will set up the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, says the Lord, who doth all these things. Know unto God are all things from the beginning of the world, wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them with which from among the Gentiles are turned to God, but that we write unto them, and they abstain from pollution of idols, and from fornication, and from blood, and what is hateful to yourself, do not do to others. For Moses of the old hasn't any for Moses of old time has in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. So this was over the question of as to whether new Gentile Christians needed to be circumcised, or if they needed to keep dietary laws or anything like that. And and Simon or James said, "No, you don't have to get circumcised. Just don't eat food given to idols, or fornicate, or drink blood." Here we see James, leader of the Jewish Christians, laying down guidelines for the Gentiles who were coming into the church. It is worth noting that he did not speak of knowing Jesus or the resurrection or of remission of sins, but instead spoke of Gentiles keeping themselves from idolatry, blood, illicit sex, and refraining from doing what is harmful to others. The things James mentioned fall in line with the seven laws and have to do with correct behavior and not correct theology. James does not mention blasphemy, murder, theft, or courts of laws, perhaps because blasphemy is implied in the prohibition of idolatry, and the Gentiles already had courts of law that dealt with the prohibitions of murder and theft. Later, at the end of Paul's third missionary journey and his return to Jerusalem, Paul meets with James and the other leaders of the Jerusalem church. What happens there is also notable. In Acts 21, 17 to 25, it says, And when we come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly, and the day following Paul went in with us to James, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what thing God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, You see, brother, how my thousands of Jews, oh, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe you that which believe, and they are all zealous of the law, and they are informed of you that you teach all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to be circumcised their children, neither to walk after their customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must come together, for they will hear that you have done. Do therefore this that we say to you. We have 4 men which have a vow of them take and purify themselves with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that these things thereof they were informed concerning you are nothing, but that you yourselves also walk orderly and keep the law. As touching the Gentiles which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing, save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strangled, and from fornication. Then Paul took the men at the next day, purifying himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that offering should be offered for every one of them. It is interesting to note that James and the Jerusalem church described themselves as zealous of the law, Torah. It is even more noteworthy that Paul meekly submitted to their wishes to go to the temple and offer sacrifice to prove to everyone that he not only teaches that the Torah is valid, but keeps it also. One would think that Paul would have told them that sacrifices were no longer necessary because of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, but he goes into the temple the next day and offers sacrifice according to Torah. The difference in the two ideologies, Ebonite and Hellenistic, are further apparent in the writings of James and Paul in the New Testament. In the Epistle of James, the author teaches that works, that is, keeping the commandments, is important. In James 2:20-22, he says, "You believe that God is one. You do well. The devils also believe and tremble. But will you know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? You see how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect." I'm gonna eat in a second. Hold on. Starving. Oh, I am hungry. Okay, what am I gonna do while I'm eating and you people are listening? Um, I'll just have to take a bite and then you'll have to let me chew. I don't want to chew in your ear. But I have to eat. I'm starving. Claire, are you here? Thank you. Are you okay? What's wrong? Thank you. Get over here. Um, okay. I need to eat this a little bit. Hold on one second. Mm, sorry. So we're talking about faith versus works, right? So that's the difference between the Noahide Code and Christianity. Christianity is about proper belief, and the Noahide Code is about proper action. So under a Noahide system, the government does not teach proper thinking. It's not going to teach you the proper way to worship God or to think about God. It is simply going to prohibit you from taking physical actions. It's going to prohibit you from physically worshiping an idol. If you want to worship the idol in your mind, go ahead, but you just can't do it physically, right? That's the point. It's action, it's not belief. Hold on. And that's where I believe Christians Christians are going to realize they have it wrong. You can't have a socially conservative order without rules. Okay, you can't maintain a socially conservative order on belief. It has to be rules. There has to be punishments. There has to be guidelines. There actually has to be laws. I can't just rely on faith. You're not going to maintain a conservative order based on faith. Mm, okay, I'm done. Do you want this? Okay, guys, I'm done eating. Like 10:30. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Sorry if I lost you. I just had to eat there. I was really hungry. Mukbanking stream. What? Okay. The difference in the two ideologies, Ebonite and Hellenistic, are first apparent in the writings of James and Paul in the New Testament. In the Epistle of James, the author teaches that works, that is, keeping the commandment, is important. You believe that God is one, you do well. The devils also believe and tremble, but you will know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered Isaac his son up the altar? You see how faith wrought his works, and by works was faith made perfect. Passages like these made many church fathers exclude James with the official canon of the New Testament for several centuries. They considered this teachings too Jewish because it implied that works or good deeds were necessary or at least as important as faith. Paul's own writings, on the other hand, have a different teaching. They use a more mystical approach, an approach that was quite different from the Jewish Christian taught. From what the Jewish Christians taught. So we're gonna read a bunch of things from Galatians and okay. So these are all Bible quotes from Paul to show that he didn't believe in works. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one of the glory of the terrestrial is another. The one who I learned the only would this only would I learn from you. Did you receive the spirit of the works of the law or by the hearing of faith? Why then the law? It was added because of the transgressions till the seed should come to whom the promise was made, and it was ordained by angels in the hand of a mediator, whereby when you read, you may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Christ, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of man, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by Spirit, even the mystery which has been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest in his saint, to whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of his mystery from the Gentiles, who is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Wherefore, if you be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are you subject to ordinances, touch, touch not, taste not, handle not, which are all to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men? For you, brethren, became followers of the churches of God which in Judea are in Christ Jesus. For you also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even if they have of the Jews, who both killed the Lord Jesus and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not God, and are contrary to all men, forbidding us to speak into the Gentiles, that they might be saved, who fill up their sins always, for the wrath is come upon them to the utmost. Therefore, by the deeds of the laws there shall no flesh be justified in this sight, for thy law is the knowledge of sin. But no, the righteous of God without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the laws and prophets. For sin shall not dominate have dominion. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace. Therefore, brethren, you are also become dead to the law by the body of Christ, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto God. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sin which were by law did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivering from the law, that being dead, wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in oldness of letter. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemning sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do not mind the things of the flesh, but they are the Spirit. But that after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit, that if you shall confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus, and shall believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, ye shall be saved. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off works of darkness, and let us put on armor of light, blotting out the handwriting of coordinates, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and look it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. Okay, so obviously what he's trying to show is that um, we're no longer under Torah law, according to Paul, right? Right, that we're no longer under Torah law. Here we see a different teaching. We see different teachings from the more Jewish sounding legal code and emphasis on works espoused by James. Celestial versus terrestrial, the law versus faith. The mysteries recently revealed by Jesus and his followers and the Gentiles are not under Torah law. There we see the Gnostic tenets of Pauline Christianity, the focus on the otherworldly concept of salvation, and the dualistic concepts that are so prevalent in Christianity, such as saved versus lost, light versus darkness, material versus flesh, fl- material or fleshy versus spiritual. This strictly binary logic, the extreme Gnostic either or dualism, found in many other Gnostic works, is one of the most noticeable Gnostic teachings found in the New Testament. This thinking goes far as to form not only the dualistic nature of Jesus being both human and divine, but also the very framework of the Christian Bible. The terms of Old Testament and New Testament, the two halves of the Christian Bible, support the Gnostic concept of the old fleshy Israel and the new spiritual church. The quote by Augustine that the old is the new concealed and the new is the old revealed is a classic example of Gnostic theology. Marcion, a Gnostic Christian who lived in the first half of the 2nd century CE, was one of the earliest influences and supporters of the Pauline Christianity. Marcion put together the first New Testament consisting of the Gospel of Luke and 10 of Paul's letters. Marcion's doctrines were an important bridge between classic Gnosticism and later Orthodox Christianity because Marcion combined classical Gnostic teachings with many of the would latter be called the proto-Orthodox viewpoint. For example, Marcion differed from the Gnostics in specific ways, among which that he took the passion of the Christ seriously, and like Paul, he Marcion makes faith and not knowledge the vehicle redemption. Marcion took Paul's teachings of grace versus law and amplified it. Here's what he said: the gospel is the good news of deliverance. It involves love, mercy, grace, forgiveness, reconciliation, redemption, and life. The law, however, is the bad news that makes the gospel necessary in the first place. It involves harsh commandments, guilt, judgment, enmity, punishment, and death. The law is given to the Jews, the gospel is given to Christ. Although Marcion was branded a heretic by the other Gnostic Christians, his influence on the new religion was considerable. He had a widespread following, and his church lasted for many centuries after his death, most notably the cities and areas where he had addressed his letters. Often Marcionism was the most popular form of Christianity in these regions. Second century Orthodoxy was not the majority view, but was a view largely limited to the churches in Rome, Corinth, Antioch, and Western Asia Minor. But how did the Gnostic churches that later would become maintained Christianity? But how did the Gnostic church that later would become mainstream Christianity survive as all of the other Gnostic religions faded away? What was the secret of their success? One of the most serious obstacles for the Christians in the Roman mission field was the widespread perception that it was entirely valid, that the religion was recent, nothing new could be true. If it were true, why was it not known long ago? How would it be that no one until now has understood the truth? Not even Homer, Plato, or Aristotle. By embracing true Judaism, which predated Homer, Plato, and Aristotle, this is by taking over the Jewish scripture and claiming them as their own, Christians became the single biggest objection that pagans had with regard to the appearance of this new religion. Had Christians not been able to make a plausible case for antiquity of their religion, it never would have succeeded in the empire. This is how the Orthodox Gnostic Christian sect won out over its competitors by adding the Christian New Testament to the Tanakh, the Old Testament, and by reinterpreting the Tanakh that Moses and the other prophets foresaw Jesus. It gave Christianity a pedigree and a stamp of God's approval, even though the Gnostic theology of the Christian church had little to do with the teachings of the Torah. Orthodox Christianity won out over the other Gnostic forms by its assimilation of Old Testament concepts, giving it a sense of legitimacy by trying it in with Judaism, a religion even the Greeks considered ancient. Claire, are you here? Are you still on the phone with your mother? Let's see. I'm still hungry. Okay. Okay. Give me a second. Just looking at what we have to read. This book won't take too long to finish. Not finding it as interesting as Secular by Design, but Noahides reject Christianity because the theology of Christianity is Gnostic theology. The imagery of Christianity is Gnostic. The language of Christianity is rife with Gnostic symbols and phrases. Orthodox Christianity may not be exactly the Gnosticism of Marcionism, Theodosianism, or Valentinianism, but it is Gnosticism nevertheless. Orthodox Christianity theology contains major themes of Gnosticism as described by Hans Jonas, who wrote, First, all the phenomena which we noted in connection with the Oriental wave Gnosticism are of decidedly religious nature, and this, as we have repeatedly stated, excuse me, is the prominent characteristic of the second phase of the Hellenistic culture in general. Second, all these currents have in some way to do with salvation. The general religion of the period is a religion of salvation. Third, all of them exhibit an exceedingly transcendent, for example, transmundane concept of God, and in a connection with it, an equally transcendent and otherworldly idea of the goal of salvation. Finally, they maintain a radical dualism of realms of being, God and the world, spirit and matter, soul and body, light and darkness, good and evil, life and death, and consequently an extremely polarization of existence of affecting not only man but reality as a whole. The general religion of the period is a dualistic transcendent religion of salvation. Christianity is of a decidedly religious nature, concentrating on the metaphysical aspects of the Bible rather than the legal or practical particularly rather than on the legal or practical, particularly the emphasis on salvation, which is the central theme in Christian theology. The transmundane aspect of God in Gnosticism correlates with the Christian view that Satan is the Lord of the world and that God is associated with the spiritual pneumatic spheres where Satan is ruler of the worldly psychic realm. The dualism, pneumatic for psychic, is a fundamental concept of Christianity. Okay. So this seems to be setting up, you know, well, this is why I think people will adopt the Noahide Code because the Noahide Code is practical and of this earth, and Noahide and Christianity is all a bunch of, highfalutin mysticism. Unlike the benign Noach, which focused on correct behavior, Christian Gnosticism focuses on correct theology, such as having to acquire the spiritual gnosis that will enable you to escape from the innate evil of the material world, which is the Christian definition of salvation. The Gnostic teachings of this mystery of the gnosis, or the secret teaching that by which one can attain salvation, is found throughout the New Testament. And when he in Mark 10, 4:10 to 11, it says, and when he was alone, they that were about him with the 12 asked for him the parable, and he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God, but unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables. Okay, so we're about to go through a bunch of Bible quotes here to show that the the New Testament is about secret teachings. But we speak with the wisdom of God in mystery, even the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the world unto him glory, having made known unto us to the mystery of his will. Now to him that is a power to establish you according to my gospel and the preaching of Jesus Christ, according to the relation of the mystery which was kept secret since the world began. Okay, I don't need to read. These are just a bunch of Bible quotes that show that Christianity is based on mystery, and they show every place in the New Testament where they're talking about mystery. So Christianity is a mystery religion, right? The mystery teachings of Christian Gnosticism constitute the core and fundamental foundation of Christian theology, such as Gnostic concept of duality or plurality of God. In many Gnostic groups, two gods were often the norm: the all-powerful God of heaven and the lesser God of creation, often called the demiurge. Some Gnostics had dozens of gods, even as many as 365 different gods, one for every day of the year. Although the demiurge, the creator god, was an intermediary god between God and Satan, in many of the Gnostic sects and the Orthodox Church did not teach that Satan was the god of creation. The Church fused the concept of the demiurge and Satan together. Satan became the new lord of the world, the evil god who wages a heavenly war against God for men's souls. It is Gnostic language when Satan is called the god of the world, the ruler of this world, the principle of the power of air, or the rulership of Aeon. Oh, yeah, hold on. The demiurge Satan as the god of the world is a staple of Christian theology. And so here is a bunch of quotes. And the devil and the devil taking him Jesus up into a high mountain. Okay. Okay, so these are just the Bible quotes just showing that Satan is the god of this world and how he controls all the princes and the principalities and anything physical and powerful about the world Satan owns. Here we have the dualism of the God and bad God. Satan is the evil God who tries to ensnare man to do his bidding, while the good God in heaven, represented on earth by Jesus, is there to save man through gnosis from Satan's wily snares. Many early Gnostic Christians, such as Marcion, taught that the Jews are from Satan, the demiurge, making it easier for Christians to disassociate themselves from Judaism, because I'm guessing that Judaism is of this world. So John 8:42 to 44 says, Jesus said unto them, if God were your father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my words, you are of the father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. The sonship of Jesus, in fact, the very concept of the Trinity itself is a Gnostic concept of created God or eon. It was thought to be first expounded by the Valentinians, another popular Gnostic Christian sect during the early formative centuries of Christianity. The Valentinians developed two new aeons, the Christos and the Holy Spirit. The Trinity is one of the mystery teachings of the Gnostic Christianity. Neither the word Trinity, nor any language that describes God has been three in one, is found in the New Testament. According to the Gnostic Church, the secret teaching of the Trinity was passed down orally from the apostles to the elect, and it is one of the foundational mysteries teaching of Christianity that a Christian must have this gnosis of the Trinity to fully know God and achieve salvation. Another example of the dualistic teaching typical of Gnosticism is the dualism of fleshy versus spiritual. Man's body of flesh is inescapably bad, and the salvation is impossible unless man accepts the mystery and teachings of the church, such as the concept of original sin, where man was cursed in the Garden of Eden and spiritually doomed unless the secret teachings of Christianity are understood, the knowledge gnosis of which can save the spirit from eternal damnation. Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of Christ, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto God. For when we were in the flesh and the mountains of sin. Okay, wait. At, Another example of the dualistic teachings typically of Gnosticism is the dualism of fleshy versus spiritual. Man's body, the flesh, is inescapable bad, and salvation is impossible unless man accepts the mystery teachings of the church. This is the concept of original sin, where man was accused in the Garden of Eden and spiritually doomed unless the secret teachings of Christianity are understood, the knowledge gnosis of which can save the spirit from eternal damnation. Okay, Bible quotes about flesh versus spirituality, so I'm not going to read those. The Gnostic teaching that knowledge must come down from heaven is another concept from the New Testament. Yet another Gnostic dualism from the New Testament is about the world of light and the world of darkness. The world of light is paradise, whereas the world of darkness is the abode of evil. The soul is cast or thrown into the body or the world of darkness. These verses following the Gnostic teachings found in the Gospel of Thomas were 24. There's light existing within a person of light, and it enlightens those whose world it does not enlighten. That person is darkness. Or as the Gospel of Philip, another Nag Hammadi text says, if anyone becomes a child of the bridal chamber, he will receive the light. If anyone does not receive it while he is in those places, for example, this world, he will not be able to receive it in the other place. The Mandean term that found their the Mandean term that found their way into Christian teachings included the teachings of living water for the frequent baptisms, which are the main feature of the Mandean cult, and mana, which is the term for the spirit from heaven. So Mandean influence. The New Testament often uses Gnostic terminology such as Sophia, the Gnostics terms for the female aeon, and identified with the Holy Spirit, teleos, a term for the perfect or those who have the Sophia, wisdom of Gnostic teachings, and archons, the Gnostic term for the rulers of the material world, such as the demiurge and his angels. As with the other Gnostic religions, the main focus of Orthodox Christianity is the salvation of the individual. The most popular verses used by Christian missionaries to deal with the concept. Okay, so there's a bunch of verses in the New Testament about salvation of the individual. This focus on salvation rather than focus on correct behavior is a primary difference between Gnostic and Noahide system of beliefs. The Gospel of John portrays Christ as a pre-existent, in some sense, divine figure who descends from the world of the Father into the created world for the purpose of offering salvation to humanity by revealing the Father. Apart from the question of the origin of this type of thought, one must recognize the fact that it resembles nothing in the ancient world so much as the Gnostic revealer myth. The very concept of salvation is revealed to be appointed by knowledge. John 17:3 is universally characterization of gnosis. So Gnosticism was a religious movement that covered a wide range of beliefs, and Orthodox Christianity, far from being different, has its place within the family of Gnostic religions. To conclude, the traditional Gnostic mythology and terminology, which had already affected even Paul and John, continued to have effect. It did not merely in the fact continue to have effect. It did not merely in the fact that the terminology of Gnostic dualism and of dualistic parenesis often occur, or merely in the fact that single motifs of Gnostic mythology occur, as in Rev and Harem, but primarily in the fact that central motifs of Christology, ecclesiology, and eschatology were worked out in Gnostic terminology as we find them in Coleph and Letters of Ignatius. Okay, we're almost done with this chapter. In terms Christians used to describe their religion, Judeo-Christianity is a misnomer. The term was developed in the early 20th century and implies a continuance or at least a shared set of values of the Judaic tradition in Christianity. Unlike the term Gnostic has Likewise, the term Gnostic has been used negatively by Orthodox Christianity to define any of the other Gnostic Christian sects that derived from its traditional Orthodox theology. From the Noahide perspective, it is clear there is little that is Judaic about Christian theology, and the difference between Orthodox Christian theology and Gnostic theology are so minor that they are meaningless. For example, Orthodox Christian theology teaches that Jesus was fully human and fully divine from the moment of conception. Christian apologists argue that this is different from the traditional Gnostic viewpoint, such as the adoptionistic view of Ebionites, who claim that Jesus was fully human, born of Joseph and Mary, and only became divine in his baptism when the Spirit of Christ descended on him, or the Gnostic separationists who believe that there were two distinct natures, one divine and one human, and the divine Christ departed the human Jesus on the cross, leading the human Jesus to cry out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Or more literally, "Why have you left me behind?" The docetic Gnostics, such as Marcion, claim that Jesus was not human whatsoever, but wholly divine. Yet the Orthodox viewpoint of Jesus having both a human and divine nature from the moment of conception is just as Gnostic as the other viewpoints. Rabbinic Judaism teaches that God is the creator of the physical universe and not a part of it. God is not a physical being, and the Christ view that Jesus was, and the Christian view that Jesus was God in the flesh, regarded regardless of when it occurred or what degree, is Gnostic teaching not a Jewish one. Then God spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the voice of the words, but you saw no form, only a voice. So take heeding for the sake of your souls, for you have seen no manner of form of the day that God spoke to you at Horeb and in the midst of the fire, so that you will not become corrupt and make yourselves an image, the representation of any form whatsoever, the likeness of a male or a female. Deuteronomy 4:12, 15 to 16. Another different Christian point Another difference Christians point out is that Christianity does not think of the material world or matter itself as being innately evil, as the classical Gnostics taught. The Orthodox Christian belief is the material world is now in the hands of Satan, and the devil. Luke says, okay, whatever. This is the basis for the Christian teaching that man is powerless in doing good to achieve salvation by himself, because the world is in the overwhelming and invincible grip of an evil spirit. While this might seem an important distinction to the Christian, from the Noahide perspective, there is little difference between the Gnostic concept of the world being created by an evil demiurge, or that the evil demiurge took control of the world once it was created. The Torah teaches that God is the creator and master of the world. The Noahide answer to the argument that many Christians use the seven laws of Noah are a teach. Wait, the Noahide answer to the argument that many Christians use the seven laws of Noah are a teaching of rabbinic Judaism, and that Christianity as a religion is superior to Judaism, is that the Christian religion is actually Gnosticism, a man-made religion based on Hellenistic teachings of Pauline theology. The Gnostic concept found in the New Testament are not a few scattered words for concepts. They constitute the very essence of Christian theology, as can be seen in the Nicene Creed which reads, "And in one Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, begotten from the Father, only begotten, that is, from the substance of the Father, God from the God, light from the light, true God from the true God, begotten, not made, being of one substance with thy Father, through whom all things in heaven and on earth come into being, through whom all things in heaven and on earth come into being, who, on account of us human beings and our salvation, came down and took flesh, becoming human being. He suffered and rose again on the third day, ascending into the heavens." Early Christian church fathers wrote extensively about the dangers of Gnosticism and heretical beliefs of the Gnostics. Unfortunately, they themselves espoused a form of Gnosticism that was just as heretical as the sects that were denouncing, and when it came to the dominant form of Christianity, they called it Orthodox Christianity, or the correct version of Christianity that all of today's major branches of Christianity are descended from. The difference between Orthodox Christian Gnosticism and other forms of Gnosticism are no more dissimilar than the differences between other classic Gnostic schools, such as the difference between Valentinism and Marcionism. The original Jewish Church of the Gospel, the sect led by John Peter, became known as the Ebionites and was extinct by the 4th century, when it became obvious that Jesus was not the Jewish Messiah and was not coming back. Orthodox Gnosticism, armed with a brand new set of scriptures they wrote themselves and added to the Hebrew Bible, dominated the history of the Western civilization until this very day. Christians insist that they are not Gnostics, and that what they call Christianity is the only true religion. They also insist that God's real purpose for man is to put faith in a human sacrifice, as taught from their book of Gnostic scriptures. It is to these Gnostic writings that we turn our attention to now. Okay, so that was chapter 1. So Claire, you were talking to your mom for a while, and you didn't miss that much important stuff, because he was just showing the difference and saying that Christianity is all about personal salvation and belief, um, whereas the Noahide laws are about proper action, and that how all this came from, Gnosticism, and that they believe God can be man, and that, the division between this world and the world of God, and who owns this world, and the devil owns this world instead of God, and stuff like that. So
Well, hmm,
I don't think you
yes.
met. I don't think you missed like the important parts, but It was just, the introduction. I think a bunch of things that you already know.
Actually, it makes me think of Sam. I mean, you managed to have quite a civil conversation with him, and he's very anti-Christian, and um, I think he best explains why Jews just really hate Christianity because of what Christians did to their religion, which is basically the antithesis of the prohibition against idolatry. It's sort of like it's worse even than idolatry. It's saying that God is the idol that they created, which is more offensive than um, just sort of innocently worshipping an idol because you didn't think there was anything wrong about that, which is what the Hindus did. And I did catch what you said about the Nicene Creed, which is basically the foundation of all the absurdity of believing Jesus is God. So I think you're making a lot of squeaky noises.
Can
I
you
mean,
hear
what did
me?
you?
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just going to be on mute for about 2 minutes.
Okay. So the problem about Christianity is that it's it gets people to do the very thing that Jews think would get them in, that would put them in hell. I mean, that is basically why Jews hate Christianity. It's like, well, there was this Jesus, the blasphemer, who said his father was God. It's obviously heresy. And so they executed him. And then what did Gentiles do? They just went and worshipped um, the person that they convicted of heresy. I'll try to think of an equivalent of this. It's like, the person that you really hate, um, well, the person that you really hate, how would you feel if that person that you really hate is worshipped as God? It's that sort of thing. So basically, Christians have been doing this for all this time, and they don't realize it, and the Jews are too afraid to tell them, and so are the Muslims. And I think Alan Cecil is trying to say it in a roundabout way, but we haven't got to the end of his book yet. How many chapters are there, Vincent? He's still muted.
This book that we're reading,
Yes, how many chapters are there?
I think there's about 6. It's a very short book.
Okay.
It's a very short book.
And so the first chapter is saying, if you'd like to sum it up, he's saying Christianity is a sort of thought thing. Christians basically have to obey the law of their Christian monarch, and they'll be okay as long as they believe in Jesus. They'll get to heaven. That is the corrupt bargain of Christianity. But Jews and Muslims say no. We have to do all these things and stop ourselves from doing these things in order to get to heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he was saying, that it's work-based versus faith-based, and you know what I mean, which I don't know. It just doesn't make sense as an empire to not have to make faith in something the basis of your moral system.
Well, what else are you going to do?
Well, I mean, you could have laws, right? Instead of faith, you can have actual
Well,
laws.
everybody has laws, but they complain about the laws. So obviously, the laws should be based on your moral system, and this is what Islam is all about. And also, to be fair to Jews, it's like, well, we were given the Torah, and we have to obey the laws until they stopped obeying. the laws and pretended it's not really didn't really mean what it said, what it's supposed to mean. But basically, this is what Muslims do, which is like, well, we're Muslims and we believe that God revealed the Quran to our Prophet Muhammad, and we're supposed to live according to the laws contained in the Quran. So that's what we do. I mean, it's pretty simple, really, when you think about it. And Christians are saying, well, we pretend to believe that Jesus is God, and we obey the law of the land, and that's it. And then it's like, well, has it worked for you? When you think of Christianity being supporting the divine right of kings, has it supported the divine right of kings in an effective way? Well, actually, no, because now the West is not made up of Christian kingdoms, is it? Once upon a time, it was. You know, uh, when the wars of the Reformation took place. And then one by one, they became republics because they hated the stupid shit that they'd been told to believe in. Starting with, the American Republic, and then the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution. I mean, if you want to look at it in the starkest way possible, you can interpret the American Revolution as a rejection of monarchy and of Christianity. The founding fathers had to reject Christianity because they know that that was the moral basis of of the of King George. Because King George, had to say, well, I have the divine right to rule because Christianity. And so the founding fathers realized that they had to kick Christianity out if they wanted to kick monarchy out. But there were temptations. I know that Washington, I mean, the plebs who don't get all these ideas, the soldiers who fought in the Revolutionary War said, "Oh, Washington, you're so wonderful. You're such a great military leader. Why don't you be our king?" That happened, didn't it? And he said, "No, I can't do it."
KL says Gnosticism makes most sense. Judaism's stance is absurd. That a loving, omnipotent being created all this misery and injustice. The early life-denying Christianity was more similar to Buddhism. With Lutheranism and Calvinism, Christianity went back to its Judaic Old Testament roots. Tinkletink says the Kabbalists say that Jesus will be their defender at the end time. Stephen J. James is here and says we don't care if it's stupid. We don't care. Oh, right. Okay.
Because
Actually,
they would rather be known as stupid than to be Muslim because they're
can
stupid.
can you send the link to Stephen J. James? Actually, let's see if he wants to come on because we
Sure.
can talk to him since we are now, obviously bashing Christianity. So
Yeah.
maybe Stephen J. James needs to read this book.
Yeah, and on the Gnosticism point is that Gnosticism is pre-Christian. That's clear, isn't it? I mean, sorry, um pre-Constantine, I should say.
Pre-Catholic.
Yeah, because when Constantine established Christianity, it was a Catholic Church, the Universal Catholic Church, and before that, when he called all the Christian bishops to Nicaea, they were Gnostics. And basically, if you're Gnostic, you're just using the brand of Jesus to sell your snake oil. And Constantine said, well, obviously the Roman imperial cult has failed, and in order to keep my empire together, I need to have a new religion. There's nothing else but Christianity. That's a big enough idea that seems to have some kind of following. So I'm going to get all the Christian bishops to come to Nicaea and agree on a doctrine, so we can all move ahead as a Christian empire. I mean, but that was basically what Constantine was about. And I guess for a while it worked until the Roman Empire fell.
Okay, let's read the next section. Now we're in chapter 2. It's called the Christian Talmud. When debating other religions, Christians will invariably use quotations from the New Testament to back up their Gnostic theology. The only text that the Christians will allow the Noahides to use is the Tanakh, or what Christians call the Old Testament. The Talmud, according to Christians, is not scripture as the Christians define it, since it was not part of their Christian Bible. Rather, they say it is a rabbinic interpretation and orally transmitted teaching written down at the end of the second century CE. Thus, according to Christians, it is not on the same level as the New Testament because the teachings of the rabbis simply do not have the same authority as the teachings of Jesus. To the Noahide, it is a simple matter of what constitutes scripture and to whom the authority has been given. From the Noahide perspective, the books of the New Testament are simply oral traditions written around the same time as the Talmud, and the Gnostic interpretations of the New Testament text are what makes up Christian theology. The Hellenization process that produced the Christian scriptures and theology, even after the books of the New Testament were written, can be traced from the early manuscripts of the New Testament and the writings of the early church fathers. If one looks at the Christian Bible in the original language, we immediately see a fundamental difference between the Old and New Testament. The first half of the Christian Bible, the Tanakh or the Old Testament, is in Hebrew, while the New Testament is in Greek. The Noahide the Noahide understanding understands the significance of the Hebrew, especially the Torah. In the Hebrew text, each word used the other. They are used in extreme importance. To give an example, let us look at the laws of the mikvah. A mikvah is a body of water used for ritual immersion. It is used for the purification of women after her monthly period, for the purification of vessels and utensils made by non-Jews, and for proselytes converting to Judaism. Converting to Judaism is quite different than converting to Christianity. It requires a bit more than simply walking down the synagogue aisle and shaking the rabbi's hand. The process takes at least a year, often longer, and as a rule of thumb, the rabbis will turn you down 3 times just to make sure you are serious. And well, it should be, for conversion to Judaism is a serious business. You have to have a complete understanding in what joining the B'nai Israel entails and of the responsibility of being a keeper and the teaching of God's law. Circumcision, the responsibility of being a keeper and teacher. Circumcision of men is also required, so conversion can also be potentially painful. The very last step of conversation is the immersion in a mikvah. When a proselyte comes out of the mikvah, he or she is no longer a Gentile, but a ger tzaddik, a righteous proselyte, and considered a Jew in every way. All of the sins that the new convert may have committed as a new Jew, all of the sins that the new convert may have committed as a non-Jew, with a few grave exceptions such as murder or adultery, have been, in the parlance of Christian terminology, washed away. If this sounds familiar to a Christian, for for this is where the Christian concept of baptism came from. It is also a prime example of how the Gnostic understanding and ignorance of rabbinic interpretation led to the concept found in Christian theology. Only two of the early church fathers could even read Hebrew, and because they did not know the Talmud, oral Torah, they were at a loss as to what baptizing was or where it came from. Some of the early Christians thought you had to be immersed in water, some thought you had to have water poured over your head, and others thought you should be sprinkled. Some thought that you should baptize infants, others thought you should only baptize adults. Some thought you should be baptized in hot water, others thought you should be baptized in cold water. This confusion results from the inability to read the Hebrew text and their ignorance of rabbinic eisegesis. To explain how important it is to comprehend the importance of being able to read the Hebrew text and understand the rabbinic eisegesis, let us look at the subject of the mikvah. In Leviticus 11:36, the Hebrew text reads, "Only on- Only a spring or a cistern, a gathering of water shall remain pure." This is the only verse written in the Torah that explains the mikvah. The first Hebrew word, whatever it means only and is used in the Torah for a reason. There is a tradition that wherever the word ark only appears in the Torah, it is meant to be restrictive. To see with that it restricts, we must take the verse in context. We know that from the word something, which means water, the mikvah can only contain water and not some other liquid. The words something are a spring or cistern pit and imply that the water must come from a natural source, like a spring or rainwater or lake or seawater, but it has to come in a natural way, that is, without human intervention, like pumping or using buckets. From the word bore cistern, we see that the mikveh can be man-made. However, it cannot be a vessel that can be removed from that can be removed. For two verses earlier in Leviticus 11:34, we see that the liquid, including water, can be rendered unclean if contained in a transportable vessel. So the mikveh must be built permanently into the ground. The word mikveh means gathering. In other words, the water must be standing still and not flowing. The words shall be clean means that all the ducts and channels that bring water into the mikvah must also be clean. That is, they too must be permanently built into the mikvah so as not to become unclean. As the rule in Leviticus 11:34 states, it is important to understand that every word in this sentence is vital not only for this sentence, but also for every word in the Torah. There are not necessarily words in the Hebrew Torah. Not only are the specific words and orders of of the words in the Torah important, but also how they are spelled. For instance, in many Jewish books, including this one, the holy name is spelled God or Lord without O because of the interpretation of Exodus 3:15. This is my name forever. In this verse, the word forever is spelled as the word hidden. This is the reason for the interpretation of the holy God is spelled with a hyphen as in G-D or L-ORD, and must be spelled or spoken as is written when used in casual conversation or literature. The omission of or insertion of a single letter, even the silent Hebrew letter Yud or Aleph, would invalidate the Torah scroll. For this reason, the Torah scribes throughout the ages have taken great care in transmitting the Torah. When writing a Torah scroll, every letter on every page is counted to make sure that every Torah is exactly the same as any other Torah. Torah scrolls written in different isolated Jewish communities like Poland and Yemen, or scrolls written centuries, thousands of miles apart, are virtually identical. This shows that the tremendous respect the observant Jews had for the Word of God throughout the history, as we shall see, the Christian treatment of their Greek New Testament was quite different. Okay, hold on. Okay. um What time is that? Are you there, Claire?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Stephen J. James is here. Okay, what time is it? Holding. Okay. Um. Okay, guys. Give me 1 second, and then You can keep talking. Let me just put my other headphone in because I'm going to be going to work soon.
Oh, can you keep
No.
it going as you go to work?
Yes, I
Maybe.
can.
Oh, great! Isn't that great, Stephen?
Well, I might not have super long actually. I'm expecting my dad to come around at some point, so we'll see what happens. But what did you want? I was summoned from the dark depths here. What's
Well,
up?
we were. Well, you were the one. We. You were the one who came
All I
on and
said
said
is,
that.
I said Islam is low IQ religion, and that's true. It's the
No, you
lowest of
said
the
you.
low, isn't it?
That's not what you said. You said we don't care if it doesn't make sense.
I said I don't care if as you put it, not in my words, but as you put it, Christianity is stupid. I don't care.
Hold on. Hold on.
Are you eating again, Vincent?
Brushing my teeth.
That's a change. Okay, why don't you care that you're stupider than other people, Stephen?
Not
Don't you want to
stupider,
combine?
not stupider.
Well, if
Like
you
like
don't
we've
care that Christianity is
like
stupid,
we all know that Islam is the stupidest, the most stupid, for the stupidest people, isn't it? Really,
well, why are you scared of them? And why do you kowtow before them? And why do you...
I'm not scared of them. You're implying a phobia there.
Yeah, well, why did that woman, what's her name? We don't even know her name, with the autistic son, you know, apologize and say she didn't want the people who threatened her son with death prosecuted. She's scared of them. She went to the mosque. There was a kind of Sharia-like hearing, and she basically begged for mercy. So, well, I mean, I guess
Well,
you're doing
she
all right
lives
with
in a
this group of
majority
people.
Muslim area. It's quite natural, isn't it? That would be natural for her to do. It's shocking. It's unfortunate, but there are enclaves in the United Kingdom where there's majority Muslim populations, and they oppress the local areas. Of course, this is sad.
And more are coming. The Albanians are Muslim. So, and what's your solution to that?
And they're even lower
To be more
IQ, aren't they?
stupid than they are. Well, then you're going to get more pressed.
No, look, I've made my explanations of what I think is the best understanding of religion. It's a tribal identity, okay?
Yes, yes, I
In the
agree with
history
you.
of the
I'm not
world,
even disagreeing with you on that because
okay?
what are Jews but a tribe?
Yes. And we can see it in how even the ones that leave the faith aspect of it still wear it. Even the liberal Jew
Because they
who
are the
doesn't
most
do
high
anything.
status religion in the whole wide world. Of course, they want to. The secular liberal Jews, they want to cling to their high
In
status
your
identity
opinion,
without having to perform the religious obligations. And we'll see how well that goes for them in Israel, where there is a situation of virtual civil war. They're not doing that well. I
well,
wouldn't
look,
like to be a Jew living in my ethno state in Israel. I wouldn't feel that safe. I wouldn't envy them if I were you.
yes, but without the Judaism, without being Jews, then they'd just be
Liberal
abs-
Democrats.
no,
I know the
without
feeling.
the Jew bit, Claire. Without the Jew bit, they'd be absorbed into one of the other Arab states or overrun by one of the Arab states. And the thing that makes them distinct, if
No,
nothing
no, no,
else,
you
is
don't
that they're
even
being
understand.
Jews. No, I do understand on a basic level, on as much as I need to understand. Like the Jews there, the ones who are whatever in a civil war or on the verge of it, the thing that unites them is the common understanding that whatever their fight is between each other, they are distinct from the other. Okay, so they're going to agree with each other about maintaining their identity as separate from the Palestinians and the Arabs, whatever you might think of that. But if you suggest to them that they should just do away with the Judaism part of it, then what do they have left other than to become absorbed into Palestine or Jordan or Beirut,
I don't know whether
Syria?
you're doing it on purpose or not. I'm not asking anybody to change their religion. You're still going by the narrative that I'm asking people to convert to Islam, and I think
You
that's the
know
most important
yourself
thing to
that
understand about secular Quranism. Otherwise,
you
I'd
know
be Muslim promoting Sharia.
you know yourself that anywhere that took the Sharia, the whatever the Quran, some form of Sharia as its guidebook would be very quickly subservient to the authorities at the heart of Islam, the ones who really have the right to claim that they interpret it properly, don't you?
Well, I read an article about these Jews in Iran saying, well, we like it here. It's very nice. And I've heard ultra Orthodox rabbis like Rabbi Misraki saying, isn't it strange that actually, if you want to bring up good Jewish children, you can do it better more easily in Iran than in Israel. Isn't that ironic? Isn't it horrible considering Iran wants to destroy Israel? He realizes the irony of it. I can dig
So
up this
you don't
article where
believe?
those
So
Jews
you don't
exit
believe
and
that
have the
Israel
world
should be?
in Iran.
So you don't believe that the Jews have the right to a Jewish state, do you?
Yes, I do. I'm saying that they will be better able to resolve their differences using secular Quranism with Israeli characteristics than under a
No,
liberal
no, 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 they
democracy.
wouldn't. Not at all. You know that would be the erasure of their
No,
identity.
no, it's such a
Of
flexible
course it would.
idea.
No, it's not.
You won't even let me point out that they can control the interpretation of the Quran by saying only ethnic Jews are allowed to enter the legal profession where they will be from which the Israeli judiciary recruits from. They could even do that and say
It's just absurd.
non-Jews cannot enter the legal profession because we want to control the interpretation of secular Quranism, and we won't let any Gentiles do it.
It's
That would
just
work.
absurd.
Why
It's
is it
just
absurd?
absurd.
Why?
Well, for one, it's disgusting. Why would you want to erase what they currently believe? Why would you want to do
No,
that?
no, no. They don't believe in liberal democracy, do they? They've had 6 elections in as many, no, 5 elections, and they'll probably have a sixth because this is what the demonstrations are intended to achieve. We're going to get the religious Jews to stand down and say, "Oh dear, it's not working. Let's have another election." That's why the State Department is
It's absolutely
sponsoring another
absurd.
color revolution.
I
This
don't even
time
know why we're
at Israel's
even
expense.
contemplating this absurd nonsense that
What's so absurd?
the Jews of Israel could suddenly subscribe to a different book.
I'm
The
not
fucking
asking them.
Quran of all things.
Well, they can still
It's
read their
just
Torah.
absurd,
It's
Claire.
just a, it's just a. Okay, why would any
It's like
rational
an order of
religious Jew?
magnitude. It's an order of
What?
magnitude more absurd than us subscribing to it. It's an order of magnitude even more absurd that
So
the Jews
you're saying
would
that
subscribe to it.
are you saying that these religious Jews would prefer a Torah theocracy with 36 capital offenses?
No, I'm
Because
saying they
that would be
prefer
the
the liberal
reality
one.
of making the Torah their guide to their Jewish theocracy. They don't want
Or
it.
some
They
kind of
haven't lived under
Torah-lite.
a
Some kind
theocracy
of
for
Torah-lite,
2,000
but
years.
certainly the Quran bit is just absurd. It's the most absurd possibility on earth.
Why?
It's absurd. Look,
You can't
it
explain
looks
why
like
it's absurd.
I just have for 10 minutes. Anyway, it looks like I've got to cut this short. If you're still on in a bit, maybe I can talk in a little bit, but no. It looks like my dad's arrived, and so I've just got to see him. So
Okay, talk to you in
maybe
a
I'll
bit.
pop. Yeah, maybe I'll pop back. All right.
That would be nice. Vincent? Vincent's still muted. There are no fresh comments in the chat.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm on my way to work and I have to go on a phone call at 11, so if you can 11:30. So if you can take over the show for like maybe 10 minutes and then I'll be back.
What you mean now?
No, at 11:30.
Okay, well, I don't know what 11:30 is. What time is it now for you?
11 Right
Oh, it's
now
11.
it's 10:30. So oh wait, yeah,
Okay.
it's 10:30, so in an hour.
Okay. And you are walking to work, are you?
No, I'm driving to work.
Oh, right. Good. So, well, what did you think of our exchange?
Well, yeah, no, he says it's absurd, but he won't give the reason why it's absurd. But he has the same problem that you do, is he doesn't think that, another Marx can't rise. Marx wrote a book that no one had ever heard of and an ideology that no one had ever heard of. And within, 50 years or 100 years, it was the ideology of so many great world nations. It didn't really take that long for communism to spread. And so, but you both have this thing. He just thinks that there's no way secular Quranism can spread, and you think that there's no way Noahidism can spread that fast, even though they're more robust ideologies than communism and are more seductive than communism, especially to Christians and religious people. And so, just because something's new, don't just discount it like, oh, it has no chance. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, I think you might find people interested in Noahidism. I was thinking of Jordan Peterson. He wants a blended religion, so I think he might possibly want to talk about Noahidism. Did you listen to any of
Yeah,
the?
I think so.
So it's a lot of people are trying to attract his attention, including that Paul van der Klee. Did you listen to any of that 2 hour stream of his?
No, no, I didn't listen to any of that. No, no, no. Claire, I listened to your streams. I find it very hard to listen to these people because it's repetitive, but it's also just, it's
Pointless.
always just complaining. It's always
I know.
complaining. It's always like this, it's, why are women whores, and why are there so many gay people, and why do we have so many immigrants, and it's always the same stuff, and it's always just like, the answer is to be a pack of fucking assholes. You know what I mean? The answer is for a bunch of straight white men to start acting like fucking assholes. That's their answer every single time. And you know you know,
Okay.
and not even sophisticated assholery. Not even like assholes like just like running in with bulldozers and knives and killing everyone and taking over. That would at least be
Be
productive
something.
assholery. But they don't. Yeah, they don't want even that level. They're not that committed. They're not going to be killing people, so they're not that committed. And you know,
They're pussies.
they just have these stupid ideas. Yes,
And they
they're
are
pussies.
stupid.
Yes, they don't want to. I know. I don't know what's happened to all of these fascists, but all of a sudden, all these far right white wing fascist men don't want to kill anybody. Everything. Well, we don't want to kill people. Oh no, we don't want to hurt people. No, we don't want to do that. Oh no, we have no problems with anybody. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to kill anyone anymore.
Well,
So
yes,
I
we're
don't see how they're gonna
pussycat.
win. If you don't want to
Well,
kill
I mean,
people,
I don't want to kill anybody, just for the record. I'm just saying, arguments are enough. If you make the point often enough, people will get it. And okay, even though they reject it and deny it, it's in their head, and they can't unthink it, and they can't forget about it, and they keep coming back trying to attack it, which is what people have been doing to me for a while because they can't get it out of their mind. And it's instantly understood and reacted to.
Claire,
But
if I Claire, if I disappear for a second, I'll be right back. It's just because my phone died. I'm about to go in and plug it in, but if I'm gone for a minute, it's because I'll be right back.
all right, what can I talk about? Um, I'm looking at my Twitter
No,
page.
I'm still here. I'm still here,
Okay,
but
you still want me to talk to you. You
I'm
still want me to
talking
talk
to.
to you. Okay. Um,
Yes.
Um, yeah. So they are basically neurotic men with no solution, gathering together for their group hug, and of course it's boring because basically Paul van der Klee hasn't got any ideas. I mean, he wants to attract the attention of John Vervaeke and Jordan Peterson, because that's a way for him to grow his channel. He actually admitted yesterday that, you know, when he's in church on Sundays, nobody's there. There's no queue of people waiting to talk to him. Only online are there people waiting to talk to him on his randos streams, which I thought you could go on, Vincent, if they let you. Are you subscribed to his stream? His channel? Okay,
Yes.
Vincent, you are subscribed to him. Okay, well, I'm just saying,
Yes.
if you want more publicity.
No, I'm not subscribed to him. I'm not subscribed to him because of all the. I will subscribe to him. I tried subscribing to him, but I couldn't because of my bans and everything like that. So.
But you can now.
I will.
Okay.
I
Because
will. I try.
Because I think our ideas would be of most interest to people like that. You know, yeah, I mean, they are just sort of doing their group hug thing, and they'll never say anything interesting because they don't want to get into trouble. And, you know, Paul Vanderklay doesn't want his channel nuked. So he'll just, you know, occasionally say something interesting and then walk back on it, and, you know, and say we don't want to kill anybody and stuff. And you know, you look at the kind of people who appear in his show, and you know they're milk toasts, really. Some of them are particularly pompous, but they're all lost, and you know, and they will remain lost until and unless they adopt secular Quranism, which they hate and fear. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I think that's the market for us. And some of them will go, oh, well,
Claire, I'm probably not.
Yes, Vincent? Were you trying to say something?
Hello?
Yes.
That I'm not gonna be able to talk as long as I thought because I forgot my headphones at home and this is gonna die. These headphones are horrible. They die like in half an hour. But we'll just talk as long as we can, and then when I'm gone, I'll just end the stream and you can go. But we've been streaming for 2 hours, so at least we've gotten part of a good stream. So when I die out, I'll that's it. But I'll be right back.
Okay. I wanted to hear more from Vincent. And there's nobody in the chat to talk to. But yeah, I was saying that when Western Man comes to his senses, he'll either go for Noahidism or secular Quranism, or rather secular Noahidism and secular Quranism, and that'll be when Vincent and I, you know, become more prominent, I predict. Run out of things to say. Waiting for Vincent to come back. So what is clearly a problem with people like Stephen is, you know, the lack of leadership. They don't have a leader. You know, obviously they don't accept my authority because I'm not white and I'm not male, and they won't accept the authority of a gay man. But I think, you know, in terms of intellectual authority, my authority is
Hi.
impregnable. Hello. Yes, I think it's turned out to be quite a
People,
good
your
streak.
authority's impregnable.
Well, yes, because it's like I've got this idea, and nobody even has a rival idea, and they're too scared to even throw rocks at it these days. I mean, I tried to get on Paul van der Klee's channel, and it's like, oh no, you can't because you won't show your face, and then they kick me off. It's like, well, why do I have to show my face? You know, they'll just find an excuse.
Mhm.
And the thing is, basically the problem with Paul van der Klee is that he knows he can't defend the Trinity, and he knows I want to talk about the Trinity. That's why he won't talk to me. I mean, that's why Christians are so weak. And that's why I get so annoyed with these Jews and these Muslims who won't go for the kill as far as the Trinity is concerned, because they're still scared of these Christians who can't defend themselves. They literally can't defend the Trinity. If you can't prove that God exists, how the hell are you going to prove that Jesus is God? Except, we were told that centuries ago by some guy called, what was his name? Athanasius. He said that Jesus is God. But before that, there was Arius who said Jesus was not God, but just divine, the divine Son of God, who's an angel or something. Their history is full of holes. They can't defend it, and they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to say that they've been basically injected with lies for centuries, and now they're seeing the effect of it. And because they were just injected with it and only kept compliant by being burnt as heretics when they questioned it, well, they didn't really question it.
Alberto,
They didn't question it until the founding of the American
Hold on one
Republic
second.
made
Yes.
it possible.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you on the phone?
No, I can help you.
I'm looking for an old iPad charging.
Old iPad over here. These? We have these for iPad. This plug?
No, this is wide.
I don't think we have the old versions. No.
No,
No, I'm sorry.
no, it's
I don't think that's an iPad charging. Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay. I can get it for you. You want it?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I also need for HDMI from the iPad. The iPad is modern. Modern. It's like iPhone charger connection.
I'll be right back, Claire. Hold on.
No problem.
With an HDMI.
HDMI, yeah.
Has to be. The end has to be like iPhone. The other side. My son has it. It's,
I don't see that here. I don't see that here. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Okay, I don't think we have that. Yeah, I'm on an HDMI. I don't think we have that. I don't think we have that. I'm sorry. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
I found it.
Okay. What were you saying?
I found an article on Twitter about farting, which I'm going to tag you in on. It's so
What is it
sad.
about?
It's a kind of, it asks, "You be the judge.
Go
Should my
ahead.
boyfriend stop farting in front of me?" Isn't it sad?
What does it say?
The title is, "You be the judge. Should my boyfriend stop farting in front of me?"
Yeah.
I mean, this is how bad it is now, right? You know, that women have to put up with shit before they're even married to their to their boyfriend. So he goes,
I'm sorry, but this is how these men behave. They. Go ahead.
you know, I don't care if Western civilization is not worth saving. I'm just going through the motions, you know. I mean, this is
Kind of
the
not worth
Guardian.
saving, is it?
Oh yeah, I'm just going through the motions because I mean, there's actually a verse in the Quran that says God never destroyed a city before sending a warner. And I suppose, you know, probably quite a few people in any city about to be destroyed, you know, have a few ideas about to, you know, how to solve the problem. But, you know, when you're confronted with people, you know, like Stephen, who say, uh, what is he actually saying? I don't mind being stupid and dead because I'd rather be stupid and dead than be Muslim, which is, well, obviously evidence of Islamophobia, I would have thought. You know, sort of, I'd rather go to hell Christian than
Um,
get to heaven Muslim.
Claire, will you be able to stay on for a while? Because I'll buy new headphones if you are, but if you're not really going to be able to stay on today, I'll just wait for my headphones to die out, and then I just will be in our conversation.
Well, I can go on for a bit. How long will it take you to get new headphones?
No, I have them. I can buy them right now, but I mean, if you can, you know, I have to, if you can, if you probably can't talk for like more than another hour, right?
I probably can, you know, I have a few things to say. But
Okay.
you're saying you know, you
Then I'll
need
get
an
them.
hour to buy them and charge them and use them. Is that what you're saying?
No. Yes. You need help? Okay. Um,
Well, we've spoken
let
for
me
two
think about this.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna buy them. When it dies out, I'm just gonna let it go and that's it.
So we're streamed for 2 hours. That's pretty good going, and you know, we can do it another time. Um, all right.
Yeah, we'll continue for right now. Thank you. You need them? We'll keep going for a little while until my headphones die. Stephen J. James.
Yes,
Um,
tell us a bit more
yeah.
about what you think about his attitude.
uh, His attitude is very, like you said, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He didn't say it's not stupid. He said we don't care if it's stupid.
Which is stupid, though, isn't it?
I
Because
mean, he's the one who he's the one who said he doesn't believe in it.
yeah, but then so
Yeah.
he's going to die for something he doesn't believe in because fill in the
Yeah.
blank. And he can't answer the question because he's basically neurotic. Because if you're stupid and the other group are not stupid, then you're going to lose to the people who are not as stupid as you. We can
Correct.
deduce that, can't we? And also,
Correct.
people like him do not get protection from their government. Their government really hates them. And in a way, I can sort of
Yeah,
understand.
of course they hate them.
Mm, they
Well, of course
hate.
the government hates them because they're also useless because they're not a voting bloc. You know what I mean? What does the government care about them? They have no power. They're not a voting bloc. They don't. You know, I looked that up and they said they did surveys and they think approximately that's probably higher because people lie, but they said approximately 6% of white men are considered far right. You know, like you know far right people like Stephen J. James and George and all these different kinds of people. They make up about 6% of the male population. So they're not worthy of courting because and they're not organized and they don't have representatives lobbying representatives like Muslims, Christians, Jews. They have lobbies and they have corporations that pay tons of money and the churches pay tons of money and they go into the churches and then the priest can tell them all who to vote for and the mama tells them who all to vote for and they all do it as a voting bloc and first of all first of all, the 6% of men that nobody wants, half of them or more than half of them are against voting. They're not going to vote anyway. You know what I mean? That, half of them don't vote. And they're very disagreeable and they dislike every candidate. The only person that they ever had any affiliation for or support for or supported in any way was Trump. And now they're not going to do it again because Trump's an asshole. And
Mhm.
are you ready?
I want you to check your files for that connection to HDMI. You have it, maybe I can go online.
I just started here. Do you know how to check to see if we have a certain wire that's not out on the floor?
That's an adapter.
He wants HDMI to Apple
Apple iPad.
to Apple iPad. Hold on one second. This is H. Oh yeah, I didn't know we had it. Okay, we do have it because it was Apple. That's why I didn't see it over there. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Give me one. I'm almost done, Claire.
Okay.
Do you want a service protection plan on that? You want protection on this? Protection? You want protection on it?
No.
Press no. Okay, are you paying with cash or card? Hold on. There's something went wrong. G? G? Yeah, oh, wait. You're paying with card. Go ahead. Card. In here. No, leave it in there. Yeah, leave it. Leave it. Hold on. Okay. Okay, here you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. No, they're not a voting bloc. They have no power. And yet they have lots of hubris and lots of jokes. And look, that's just the way that straight white men react when they're not in power. They do nothing. That they
Yeah.
if they don't come in power, if they don't come in at the top, they're useless. Look, minorities and women and gays, when we're at the bottom, we're very serious, very serious. Okay, we're very serious about getting out of it, and we're very serious about getting on top, and we're very serious about our strategies, and we have strategies, and we work together, and we're not joking around, and we accomplish it. When a white man is at the bottom and he cannot get to the top because he won't be serious. He won't organize. He won't make up schemes. He'll just sit there and spread, memes making fun of fat people and gay people and women all day. That's his response.
And one of the things I wondered about them is that, don't they have fathers who might want to help them? And it seems that they don't. I mean, probably none of them have even met their fathers
No, I don't
because
think
they've
it's
been
that
deprived
there.
of,
I think that they're just. No, I think this is just a natural, straight white man's way of doing things. I don't think it's because they didn't have fathers. I think it's just that I think that they're just too stupid. I think that they don't know how to be the underdog. Okay, they don't know how to be the underdog. They don't know how to be the slave and fight your way out of slavery. They don't know how to do that.
and they're stupid and they don't care that they're
No, they
stupid. You know, they're so stupid that they don't care that they're stupid. It's like we're just going to die white and stupid. And what I think is happening is that okay, I go on about their fathers because it's like, well, surely your father would help you or give you advice or try and help in some way. But it seems that they don't have
I
fathers who
don't
want
think
to help
I
them.
don't think their fathers would no, I don't think their fathers would come up with any better of a solution. I don't think any straight white man knows the solution about how to get out from the bottom. They don't know how to get out from the bottom. It's beyond their comprehension because they don't know how to start from a place of weakness. They don't know what to do when they're
But place
weak.
of what? Sorry.
Women, minorities,
Oh, a stuff
they
from a
don't know
place
how
of
to get out of
weakness.
weakness.
Hmm.
Yeah, they don't know how to start from a place of weakness. They don't know how to start as the slave and become the master. They
They
can
can't
only
even
get
be
there if they come in as
polite.
the master and have the big guns.
Mm.
No, they can't. But even getting out of slavery is not being about being polite. It's about being intelligent. I don't think that black gays and women were particularly polite about getting out of slavery. I think they were very nasty about it. But they did it in a productive way that worked. Okay, you know what I mean? They worked it in a productive way that worked. And
Mm.
it's because they had justice on their side because they're like, oh, we're being oppressed. What do these men have? Justice on their side when, well, we just want to get rid of people and subjugate women and make fun of homosexuals and fat people. That's what they want the freedom to do. You know what? They have told me, most of them do not care about anything. All they want, and I'm talking about all they want and nothing else, is to be able to say the N word on Facebook.
Okay.
I
Yes.
No, I'm telling you, you could if you wanted to pacify this rebellion, just let them use the N word on Facebook, and they're like, okay, life is fine again, everything's fine as long as they can post trashy memes, then they're fine.
Yeah.
And simp for girls who talk about smelling farts. That too.
Hmm. Wow.
I mean,
Well,
my hatred for these people is all encompassing. My hatred for these people is all encompassing. They're just dead weight. The dead weight on the white race. They're holding us back. The future is futurism. It's not traditionalism. You know, it's futurism. Something futuristic is the future, not fucking going back under these men. Who wants to be under them? Including other white men. Look, right-wing white men don't even want to be controlled by right-wing white men. They hate each other. They just do nothing but drag each other down. Where in all of the alt-right is there a universally respected leader? Who's universally respected in the alt-right by everybody?
No one. I mean, I suppose they can only think in
No
terms
one's
of the
universal.
number of followers and subscribers they have, and that's it. Or how much they're allowed to
The left
earn.
has universally. The left has respected leaders that everybody respects. You know what I mean? And they will get along. The left don't sit around making fun of each other. And, even so much as like the body shaming, it goes beyond just body shaming fat people. They body shame each other. Your chin is too shallow. Your arms are too gangly. You look like a little beta. And like calling each other beta all the time. Leftists don't sit around degrading each other and dehumanizing each other all day.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even good to their own rank and file. They're not even good to their own rank and file. These boys come in and they make fun of them for being betas. And most of them are, and a lot of them are ugly and pathetic, chubby. They're fucking chubby, and they're going around talking to people about being chubby. And they are fucking ugly, and they're posting about ugly women. You're so fucking ugly, you can't get a woman. Who the fuck are you supposed to be? Who the fuck are you to be posting about other people's bodies? Actually, I was so excited. I looked up on that same article, so I wanted to know exactly how many white men are dissident right, far right men, and it said 6%. But it was trying to give a reason why it's on the rise, even though it's not that big yet. And they were talking about, so this one sociologist, a woman, theorized that the decline in marriage and monogamy, what's happening is that because monogamy is no longer enforced, there's like an elite group of Chad men who get all the women, and then there's this underclass, this large underclass of men who can't get a woman. And it's because that's the way it's supposed to be. Under natural circumstances in ancient times, all the women would sleep with the top men, and then the bottom men, only one out of every 17 men bred in ancient times. So that's the way it's supposed to be. Get all the elite men, get all the women to marry all the elite men, practice polygamy or polygyny or whatever, and leave these assholes behind and just fuck them over. I want them to die miserable, fuckless, and just trampled on, childless, and just a piece of garbage. A piece of garbage is how they're going to die. They're going to die as a piece of shit. There's going to be no glorious revolution. You're not all coming out of your basements and off your videos with guns, and they don't have drills in the streets. Look, they think that they're going to be able to do this like happened in Nazi Germany. First of all, with Nazi Germany, what had happened, they had all just gotten out of a war together, and they had military organizations for the military men who had been in the war that had all fought together, and they created like civil militia groups. Okay, there were active civil militia groups in Germany before the rise of Hitler. There was manpower, and there were military trained men, and they were united, and they weren't divided amongst each other. These men don't have that. They don't come from a wartime. None of them have ever been to war. None of them have ever been militarily trained. None of them have ever none of them have any military training, nothing. They're not going to be able to come out and do anything now. They're not like, even if if a Hitler rose tomorrow, look, the thing about these people, if a Hitler rose tomorrow, first of all these people are way too. Stephen James is here again saying he's not chubby or ugly. What I was gonna say was, if Hitler rose tomorrow, none of these people would be prepared to save him, and they wouldn't follow him. They would call him autistic because he was serious, took himself seriously, had real plans, studied, was and had a vision. They would just say you're autistic and schizophrenic and make fun of him.
Yeah, they wouldn't
If you
follow
notice,
Hitler
they
because
make
he
fun of you
wanted
if you
them to
write
do
any.
stuff.
Yeah, but he's also serious and he's not cracking jokes and he actually wants to, yeah, do stuff, not just sit around and complain on the internet all day. He would, if if there were Hitler today, he'd want to organize and he'd want street marches and he would want actually real intellectual propaganda to get the masses on his side, not just 6% of the population. Okay, like Hitler spoke to the masses. And it was easier to do that then because everyone was German and everyone was white, and it was only a bunch of German white people against a few Jews. And you know what I mean? Germany didn't have swaths of blacks and Hispanics and Asians and liberal women who were listening to Hitler's message and could care less. And there were a lot of people in Germany that were more than 6% that were ready to get up and fight for Hitler. And that's the only reason why any of this even happened. And also, they were much closer. Germany had just come out of being a kingdom. It had a Kaiser. It had just left that authority model. So the people who were living in the Nazi era had lived under a Kaiser and knew what it was to have like that kind of like top-down control. In America, we have no culture of that. We're all too democratic. We're all too individualistic. We're not going to fall under a Führer. We have a different mindset. So, you know, whoever knows how to use liberal democracy to their advantage is going to be the one who wins. And I think I'm going to win because it's about voluntary eugenics, and all I need is technology. All I need is technology or money. You know what I mean? Because I'm not looking to kill everybody. I'm not, and I can talk to more people than just 6% of the population.
Yeah.
I can talk to more than 6% of the population. I can't. But I can't talk to anybody.
Not even their own people.
No, they can't talk even to their own people. They all hate watch each other. And I mean, the ones that are sitting here listening to this right now, they're just like, they think it's funny. They think that they're so great. I mean, these alt-right men that are listening, the hate watchers that are listening right now, think they are so awesome. I mean, they think they are the cat's meow. And that's another problem with straight white men is that they don't know how to they don't know how to think they're not the best. Gay men and women are not so arrogant, and so we don't think we're the best, and so we know we're. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We can't find these.
Oh, I'm not in this department.
Oh, you wouldn't know?
You have to find someone in a blue vest.
I don't know how it went from 60 and it says it's only using 8. It's used. Well, I'm afraid I'm using the wrong thing.
Okay. Women and gays and minorities are open to the idea that they're not that great and that they need improvement. You know what I mean? Because we're a little bit more humble because, life knocked us down a little bit. And so we know we don't have it all. And we also know that if we were so perfect, we wouldn't be minority. We wouldn't be under anybody. And
Hmm.
so, we're willing to say, okay, what we're doing is wrong, let's change. I think women, gays, and minorities are a lot more likely to change their behavior and change their way of thinking. Whereas, like Stephen J. James, white men are more likely to just go down with the ship, and this is the way we've always done things, and this is the way we're always going to do it. And even if it's stupid, we don't care. That's straight white man thinking.
Yes, the I'd rather die attitude. And actually, it's not confined to white men or white women. I mean, I've had white women say that to me too. But I mean, I know non-white people who say things like "I'd rather die." But
Well, yes, but non-whites are more likely to just they are at the bottom, and when you're at the bottom,
they
you're
know,
looking for things to change. You're looking for something. So you're looking for
and
things
their,
to
their
be
pride
different,
doesn't
and
get in
when
their
you're at the
way.
bottom, you try.
Their pride doesn't
No,
get in their way. I think if you're at the bottom, you're used to being at the bottom. You don't go crazy if people disrespect you. But if you're, at the top, during the Wall Street crash, there were all these stockbrokers apparently who jumped out of tall buildings because they sort of realized that they couldn't bear to be talked down to by ordinary people that they used to be um, dismissive of. I think that must be the reason because lots of rich people who lose their fortune they kill themselves because they can't bear the idea of kowtowing to people they used to piss on. Isn't that the problem?
yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's part of that. Yeah, and that's why all these men are incels because they they won't touch a woman who has any self-respect, and because if they cannot brutalize her and dominate her and treat her like shit, they don't want her. You're incels because you're assholes because you
I
don't
don't
want
think
a
they
nice
even get
girl.
these women.
You want a
I don't think they even,
what?
I'm sure, okay, I'm saying that these women who talk about beating women and screwing them and pumping them and dumping them, I bet they would be as nice as pie when a likely prospect comes up. They're just talking big. I think that I suspect them of that. But if a reasonably nice woman came, along and they could see her and she's prepared to be nice to them, they would just completely dump all the shit talking about women. You know, they only talk big when they're with other guys. It's locker room talk, isn't it? I mean, Trump was guilty of it. Grab them by the pussy, and they're happy to let you do that. If you're Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah.
Can you tell me if the TV is on? No,
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. Sorry. Give me 1 second. No.
Yeah. Like my phone, it does it like this. It's stylist. It usually comes in the box and not in the. Also, if this one does have the S Pen, I might just go for this one. I'll sell it to do with it.
Yes.
What is it called? Something. Like 8.7?
8.7.
A7, right? Is that the light?
Yeah.
The light.
Ask if it comes with stylus pen.
Because I know it doesn't come in the actual thing, it comes in the box. So, if you want one with the stylus, and if you want a Samsung, let's try to see that one. Oh, it does come with this. Okay. I think I'll get this.
Okay.
If it's in stock.
Okay. Okay. G? 1 second. Hello?
Yes?
Hello?
You talking to me? Yes?
Okay, isn't Stephen J. James still here?
Yes, well, he just came back.
Oh yes, I'm here.
Okay, are you guys talking? Why don't you keep talking? Because I can talk to you for a second now, but I'm trying to help a customer. But anyway,
Yes,
Stephen J. James,
focus
yeah,
on your
we're talking
customers,
about you.
Vincent. Yes, I heard quite a
We're,
bit
we're
of
talking
it.
about you, Stephen J. James.
Absolute delusions of grandeur and self-importance as ever. The idea that homosexuals and women are less arrogant than straight white men is just probably that's the funniest thing I've heard all year from since the start of 2023. I think the idea that a homosexual supremacist is less arrogant than a normal straight white young
She's
dude
coming.
is absurd. And Claire
Well, the
Core
only reason I
here.
became a supremacist is because you're so obviously inferior. I wasn't a gay supremacist my whole life. It took a lot to get me here. It took a lot of experience for me to see that heterosexuals are just deficient. There's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
It didn't just. Well, where did I mean? Isn't that the same thing with all these white men? I mean, they didn't start out racist, but they just had so much
It's a
interaction with women and gays
typical
and
minority
minorities that they just.
complex, really. Typical hateful minority complex that, yes, straight white folks are in on the decline, really, and yeah, we're getting the ones that are getting. Hold on, no, it's not for me.
Yeah, and you're never going to be able to get out of your minority status. You're never going to be able to get out of your minority status. You can't fight your way out of it. You don't know how to fight your way as a minority. You only know how to fight as a majority. Once you're the minority, you're done. You never come back. You just don't know how to. You don't know how to struggle. Okay, you don't know how to do that. You only win when you have the big muscles and the big guns. But as soon as those are taken away from you, you have nothing. You have no persistence.
Look,
You're not clever. You don't know how to You don't know
the
how to
other thing I
subvert
wanted to say,
society.
the other thing I wanted to say was, I don't know who you mistake me for, but suddenly like going into this rant about how what Hitler did and things like that. Hitler was cringe. We don't want anything to do with Adolf Hitler. We don't want another Adolf Hitler. Thank you very much.
So I don't know where the Samsung iPod itself. Go ahead.
Adolf Hitler was cringe. We don't want anything to do with Adolf Hitler. He was the biggest loser of the last fucking 1,000 years, wasn't he? And all he did was destroy and murder white people. So you might have the odd one or two Wignats, like well, I don't even think. I find it difficult to even find one to bring to memory. OV, say, Claycall knows OV. You might find some deranged dude who's fell on his head, who supports that kind of thing. But even somebody like that displays their mental incapacities by on the one hand denying that Adolf Hitler did the Holocaust, and then in the other one thinking that he's fantastic for what he didn't do to the Jews according to them. So we don't want anything to do with that. We're not interested in bringing back Hitler or even rehabilitating Hitler. Thank you very much. So don't associate me with Hitler.
Yeah. And I want to see anything that you have on.
Let's go look. Hold on a second, guys. Over here. Hold on, guys. Give me
Anyway.
1 second. I'll be right back.
This is the most bizarre setup ever. Isn't it?
Yes, with all the
Fucking bizarre.
yes, Vincent showing us how to serve customers. He's so unfadingly polite and helpful, isn't he? He'll go
I don't
far.
think so. No, I think he'll get the sack by the end of the week. Obviously.
No, but he's being helpful and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing and double tasking and talking to us.
I think
producing
if we were there, on the shop floor, it'd be obvious he was distracted, tried to do something else, and it's just bizarre.
If this carries on, okay, somebody, if something's wrong, somebody's going to say, Vincent, will you come to me? Come to my office, please, because I want to have a word. We need to talk, or something like that.
Literally zero job that I've ever done in my life would I be able to be having a telephone conversation with somebody while doing it. It's just bad.
Well, but that's a great thing about modern technology, isn't it? He just wears, his earbuds, and then when he has to serve a customer, he just tells us to.
Yeah, but people can see your mouths moving. Oh boy.
Well, ideally, he should be able to mute himself, but it's also entertaining what he's saying to these customers at these beeps when he takes their payment.
No. Anyway, what a bizarre place I'm hanging out in here.
How's your dad?
He's fixing something at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hear a drill or something,
Mm-hmm.
that's what that will be.
Well, your last stream got a lot of views. Well, maybe not. I mean, I might have missed your latest one. Your Christianity.
Oh, my short one's on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one did you say got a lot of views?
Well, I imagine that your Christianity one is your big hit, your most recent big hit.
Actually, the one that did super well was you might have probably missed it, but I just reacted live to an Edward Dutton stream because there was a funny white couple on there who want to make like 10 babies between them.
Sorry, the white couple who wanted to do what? Make babies, did you say?
Yes, they're running some kind of pro-fertility NGO or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite get it, or charity. They want to promote fertility, natalism. And so he's on there talking to Edward Dutton as this advocate for natalism and having a large family. And he's just super funny because they were the least looking advocates for it that you'd have expected. And And so I just reacted live to it. It's my latest one that I did on the phone called the Eugenicist Solution.
Right, so they're both married
Eugenics
to each
solution.
I
other.
saw that. What was that about?
It's a guy who's pro-natalist, and just his plan or something is that if he has 8 babies, or 10 babies, I can't remember, and then he makes each of those each have 10 babies, then within 10 generations he will have repopulated the entire earth. So I don't know if those numbers
The
work
baby
out.
machines are going to do better than. Yeah. No,
They actually,
you're not going to get a woman pregnant 10
they
times.
mentioned artificial wombs. It was brought up in that stream, artificial wombs.
You're not. Good. Yeah, good. No, I don't want straight men taking that. I'm going to do that. You need to, like, go try to get a woman
No,
pregnant 10 times. Please go do that. So just.
straight
So I
straight
just
couples
deal
are
with
already
you.
on it. Already on it. They'll beat you to it.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Have 10 babies. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're all having
Yeah.
10 babies. I really know that. Yep, white couples are having 10 babies each these days.
And in
You're
the
right.
meantime, and until we get there, they're having them naturally. They're actually, this couple is using IVF.
How many babies have they got already?
3.
How
And
long
they're
have
using
they?
IVF. I didn't watch it all because Edward Dutton takes his videos down immediately, so I didn't get to see any more of it. So I was reacting live to a little bit of it.
Right,
That's all I
right.
actually got to see.
Okay, okay.
But I
Well,
suppose I
is it
could watch the rest on
practical?
Odyssey.
Yes, yes. I suppose yes. We should go to Odyssey. Wasn't there something about Ed Dutton? Did he say something about that Michael Jones? He won't be invited back on my channel again, or something like that. I didn't really get the thing, the reference.
So I recall that Michael Jones came on, and it did go extremely awkwardly, but I can't remember why.
Oh, but it should be on Odyssey, should it?
Yes, it's worth watching back. There was something that happened. Yes, they really didn't go on. I remember that much, but I can't remember what it actually was.
Was it a recent thing?
No, it's probably about a year ago.
Oh, I think I have some memory of that. I think Michael Jones kept asking Ed if he believed in God or I don't know. It was something to do with his beliefs. I seem to remember. So I'll go and watch it again.
Yeah. Because
Have you,
fundamentally, Ed Dutton is an atheist, and Michael Jones is like kind of
a
an
religious
absurd
fundamentalist?
Catholic. Yes. But
No, I
Ed
mean
Dutton,
fundamentally, he would conduct an inquisition if he could. I mean that's a bottom line with him, and he wouldn't just inquisition to Jews; he'd inquisition the Protestants too. You know.
sure. But I appreciate the expression of his ethnos in that role.
Well, actually, he said white doesn't exist. You know, because
Yeah, this is
no,
the more absurd of his views.
yes,
But I get what he's saying. He's saying, essentially, what he's telling people, he's not really saying white doesn't exist. What he's saying is, I can't admit to racial politics here, and you're much smarter if you use religious politics, okay? Because religious groups are a protected category, whereas calling yourself white and identifying and falling under the banner of being white is not a protected category, particularly in the United States. And so what he's saying is, nudge nudge, wink wink, don't fall under the banner of organising as a white person, fall under the banner of organising as a Catholic, because it's the only route, the only option left. That's what he's doing. I understand it. I get it. Whether he's mistaken about it or not, but that's what it boils down to. And for whatever reason, you're right about half of these people who are too thick to get a lot of these things. There are a lot of stupid people in the alt-right. Oh boy. Holy shit.
You want the black one? You want the black one?
I think the batteries are running down. Vincent, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, this is the
I
Vincent's
think
fading out,
yeah.
just like his bloodline will. One day he's disappearing into the wormhole of death.
Well, I just wanted to point out that even if we can breed lots of people, the parenting of them has to be considered, because it didn't really help the Mughals or the Ottoman Empire, who had access to harems, nor did it help the last emperor of China. No,
Sure,
or the one before
sure,
the
yeah.
Dowager Empress. So it's not just about having lots of babies, but the parenting and education of them, which only religion can have an impact on. I
Sure.
think people just either they can't get it or they won't get it. I think you sort of get it, but you don't. You pretend not to get it, which is why I go crazy, really, because I know you get it and you just pretend not to get it, which is even more
No, I don't
infuriating. I
pretend.
think
I
you
mean,
don't.
I get it, but when it comes down to it, I disagree.
Yeah, but you have
And
no
you'll say,
reason to disagree
yeah, here we
other
go.
than I don't like it and I don't want to and you can't make me. And it's like,
No, we
well,
see them as different forces, essentially. We view these things as different entities. And I see your solution as not being a fixer-upper, but a replacement. And my line would die
well,
out with
yes,
it.
yes, I
Die
admit
out at
that.
the start of it.
No, 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 you would, nobody would die out. They'd just be called a different name. That's all. And it's not really such a big deal. It's like, well, if you're Russian, then after the Russian Revolution, you'd be, well, called a communist country, and then you stop being a communist country and you become a liberal democracy, which technically is what Russia still is. And well, I don't know. It's one of these things. Tide and times. And these things individuals cannot really affect. They can just go with the flow without getting drowned.
Yeah, I think liberalism is the final boss.
I mean,
Okay.
liberalism is basically, it's just one of the many secular political ideologies that Europeans have tried after they gave up on Christianity. That's basically it. They tried communism, they tried fascism, they tried Nazism, and yeah, liberalism has been around before any of those, and they tried four different
The English
political.
never tried any of those, actually, apart from
Where do you
obviously
think?
the liberalism.
Yes, yes, I know. So, but you don't have to try them again because you know they failed, right? A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Only fools learn from their own mistakes. So,
Sure,
you've
and
already done it. You've tried all the other stuff that wasn't
sure, and
Christianity.
we'll add in to it. No, no, I was talking about Nazism and communism. Okay, Britain has never dabbled with either of those. Yes, liberalism, but we existed in representative democracy for hundreds of years, which was a bit more sensible than post World War Two or liberalism or whatever. Post Enlightenment, whatever you might think of the Enlightenment, I'm not too down on it. I like reason. I believe in
So do
science.
I. I don't think it was a bad thing. It was an inevitable reaction to the wars of the Reformation. I mean, that was it. It's like we don't want to argue and kill each other over whether to be Protestant or Catholic anymore. We just want to be reasonable Englishmen. And then stuff happened. But anyway, the reason why the English were more reasonable about these things, it was because of the regicide of Charles I in 1649. Because he wasn't being reasonable, and I guess the peasantry and the yeomanry, did what they did to him when they got fed up with him. And that probably explains why, the monarchs of Britain were, more responsive to the moods and preferences of the English public because of the
Sure,
regicide of Charles I.
sure. And the Civil War, which did both sides no good, and then what came after was an absolute
A
viewed as a
republic.
mistake. No, viewed as a mistake because he became as much of a despot, like even banning Christmas, and people couldn't even listen to music and things like that.
Well, the greatest mistake of Cromwell was treating the republic as his own own little kingdom.
Well, he
It
ruled
was
as a
obviously
king, yes, yeah. He ruled as a
no,
king
no, no,
after
no,
just killing one. He
no. It
did, Lord
wasn't.
Protector.
Well, I think it went well for a bit. It's just that no,
He was a
what he did.
despot.
I don't think that was even really the problem. When he
That's
died,
what I
he
learnt in
had,
school.
yes. I know that's what most people learned at school, but I think the British are a bit neurotic about the monarchy, and basically what Cromwell tried to do when he knew he would have to pop his clogs was make his son his successor, and that was of course intolerable because that was literally the signs of a monarchy. I mean, there are republics that are really
Yes, he
monarchies, like
effectively
North
he wanted
Korea.
to rule as a king after just having a civil war and, like you
He should
say, killing a king.
Well, he should have arranged for a successor before he died rather than think, oh, I'm just going to give it to my son. I mean, he obviously didn't think of that. So I would say, that was his mistake. He didn't arrange for the orderly succession to power. But if you
Yeah,
think of China, it's like if anything happened to Xi Jinping, I mean, within a day they would have his successor.
sure. I must admit, I'm not fully versed on this English Civil War. I'm sure, just getting on a schoolboy's education here about it, that is probably an extremely biased view.
Oh
I should
no,
look
I
into
mean,
it,
I don't
find out
pretend to
about
be an
it.
expert. I don't pretend to be an expert on the English Civil War. I'm just saying that, even with your schoolboy's version of the English Civil War, you know that the Republic came to an end because Cromwell proposed to bequeath his, position as Lord
Yeah,
Protector to his son. And the English
yeah,
weren't having it. And I guess they thought, well, if you're going to behave like a king, we'd like the real thing and restore Charles II.
yeah, and then we returned to a monarchy, but with a compromise with
Yeah,
the
with a
parliament.
frightened monarch because it was
Yeah,
basically,
a cucked monarch.
it's like a constitutional monarchy because they sort of realised that if they said, no in the way that, Charles said no to, calling Parliament before taxing people, you know, something like that might happen to them. And then, there was a French Revolution, which made, I'm sure, all the monarchs of Europe, even more nervous.
Sure, sure.
And then Russia was kind of like,
They
wow, it
deserved it
happened
though.
to Russia. It happened to Russia, you know.
They didn't deserve it. I think that Russian one was pretty sick. Uh, but I'm sure the French deserved it somehow.
Well, I mean, it was all. It's so crazy. I mean, the reason why the French got restive was because there was a food shortage and rising
The French
prices.
are always getting angry and uprising, aren't they? Even today.
I think their attitude comes from the French Revolution. But I guess they suffered it particularly badly because after the funding of the American Revolutionary Wars, the coffers of the French king were empty, and so he went cap in hand to the Catholic Church, who said no, we're not paying, and he went cap in hand to the barons who control the army, and they said, well, you can't make us pay taxes. So it fell onto the commoners, a third estate. And eventually they
Yeah, I don't
rebelled.
know much about that either.
Well, I think any investigation of the French Revolution would tell you that, the First and Second Estate would not pay up well to take the share of the burden of the debts incurred after the Revolutionary War, after France's sponsorship of the French Revolutionary Wars.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much fighting going on there around that time, wasn't there? Particularly in France and that area.
Well, yes, and then
Non-stop.
the Napoleonic Wars after the
Yeah.
French established their republic, and we know that the French basically wanted to create their own religion. I don't know if you know that, but they tried to start things like a cult of reason and a cult of the supreme being, and we know they definitely did because they had a post-revolutionary calendar, and every revolution basically has a new calendar, Anno Domini, the Jewish calendar, the Muslim calendar. It's all about, we date our history from, whatever it is.
Sure. I've just got a planer going on behind me.
Yes, I thought that might be your dad.
Sorry about that. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that. Yeah, I get it.
Well, I don't think a lot of people do. I think a lot of English people don't understand their own history. I mean, the history just goes back to the Nazis and a bit of Tudor history here and a bit of I don't know. They don't learn it chronologically. They don't get it.
Stephen, is your father a Normie?
Is he what? Sorry? He's the
A
one doing that.
normie.
A normie. You could say that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of people that do
Just
have Normie
apolitical.
parents. I don't think it's coming.
Apolitical.
I don't think it comes from the parents. I've noticed all of you boys, your parents are Normies. So I don't think a lot of you are actually getting this. Like, I don't believe it's transmitted. Like,
Getting
I just think some
what?
people are
What are you
like that, some
accusing me
people
of
aren't.
having?
But I don't.
What's the it?
I think you're just. You're naturally not a normie, you know what I mean? But I don't. I noticed that a lot of alt-right or dissident far-right men have normie parents because a lot of them don't want their parents to find out what they think and stuff like that.
They know what I think. I don't hide any of my opinions, but they're just apolitical, regular people. Like the majority of the population are. They just find politics very boring.
Well, so nothing gets discussed properly. I mean, I know this American woman who basically says she can't talk to her parents. I think her father's dead, but her mother has married a liberal, so she can't have any proper conversations with the older generation because they're so hysterically anti-Trump, and I think the reason why these liberals treat Trump supporters as heretics is because they really think of him as being heretical because obviously Trump and his supporters are challenging the liberal order and they can't deal with it, and this is a
So,
problem, Stephen, of not having a religion, because what you're going to be having from now on is one generation basically trying to reverse what happened, what the previous generation did. So you're going to be cursed with having children who are taught things at school that are completely antithetical to your own belief system. And this is what's going to carry on forever if you don't get yourself a religion. What are you saying, Vincent?
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes, it's so noisy.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to go on mute.
Okay, that's better. So this is what happens when you don't have a moral system, when you don't have a religion. What you're going to get is the next generation turning back whatever the previous generation did.
Sure, I just had some background noise, so I was muted a moment. I get you. Liberal democracy is the final boss, however. It's almost impossible to see it turning back, Claire. This is the problem. Just being grounded in reality.
Okay, I'm going to predict what the Jews in Israel are going to do. So obviously the secular Jews, the liberal Democrat Jews, they're going to get their funding from the State Department. America wants, or well, maybe some people in America still want Israel to stay a liberal democracy, and they're going to overturn the social conservatives who now dominate the Knesset and calling them ultra far right and racist and all kinds of things, with in the hope of rigging another election probably. So what's happening? So I think
I think they'll come to a compromise. They'll come to a compromise behind the scenes just to protect the status quo over there. That's what's going to happen, really.
Okay, but which means that they have to concede again, which means the liberals win again, and I think the religious people are just having enough.
The religious people will get a chunk of what they want in order to keep quiet.
Well, I don't know.
It's not worth breaking the state apart. It's not worth, like you say, the potential of this civil war or whatever, and that they're going to have to do something to stabilize the issue, which means each side is going to have to get some of what they want, but on the surface of it, it's going to maintain the status quo of being a representative democracy where people believe that they have a franchise in it. That's not going to be swept aside anytime soon. I just don't see it. Not without a war.
If I were a religious Jew, I would know what the problem is. It's all these elections, and even the organization that is trying to push through the reforms actually has to say we support representative democracy, and that's the thing. If they're going to support representative democracy, they're never ever going to get their way, and if they don't support representative democracy, what are they going to get? They're going to get they're going to get a one-party state, obviously, and if they want that, the Americans will come down on them like a ton of bricks, because the only way that the Americans can control any country is when they have elections. So, I mean, this is how it works.
So there we go. So they're dependent upon it. So that it's a non-option for them.
Well, what they could do, the religious conservatives, is basically saying, well, we would rather be under Sharia than under liberal democracy. Well, I mean, you don't talk to some of the non-Tel Aviv Jews who live on settlements, and who talk to Arabs and get on fine with them. It's the Tel Avivians who can't countenance the idea of living as Jews or as Muslims. But maybe secular Quranism is the middle way for these Israeli Jews. But of course, they'll have to ask permission for that from Uncle Sam, and yes, and once Uncle Sam is asked, well, they'll have to acknowledge it some way, and that's when secular Quranism will get more prominent.
Like, it's a non-starter. They're going to come to a compromise there. Losing the backing of America. Losing the backing of America is it. It's just ridiculous to think.
Well, that's the only way. So basically, Joshua Charlotte said he wanted to ban conscription. And
He's
I
a
mean, what
nutter,
does
Claire. He's a nut job. He sounds sensible because he's a smart guy, but he's a weirdo idiot because he's fundamentally one of these libertarian anarchists. He claims to be an
no, no,
anarchist
no? There is a
when
logic
he
to it.
depends, his very life and existence depends upon the Israeli state being a strong state,
No, no,
and
it,
yet
it's
he's an
actually
anarchist.
okay. I will follow up. I will
Let me
actually.
just say one more thing. Let me just say one more thing. I will listen to you, but I'm also going to have to go in a moment. But let me just say one more thing. Your proposal is to roll a dice for the future, even if I entertain that it's it's a potential future possibility, which I don't. I think it's absurd, but on the fundamental level of it, if we entertain that it's possible, your proposal is to roll a dice, a couple of dice, and see how they fall, just on the idea that it would be better, when this is an incredibly risky place for somewhere like Israel, okay, where it is an incredibly fragile place, and if it goes wrong, then that's it. The Jews could be wiped out by one of their neighbours because they're hated so much by them.
They're hated
You know,
because they're liberal Democrats.
no, they're not. They're hated because they're Jews. This is why, like Iran, has the conflict with them, and whatever Syrians and whoever,
Because they
whoever,
hate
whoever.
America. They hate
So,
America.
your proposed,
Yeah, actually, Stephen, I would
yes,
like to I would like to agree with Claire that if Israel was a Torah theocracy and old Jews were spreading the Noahide laws, I don't think Muslims would want to destroy them.
Thank you.
I don't think Muslims would want to destroy them if they were religious. I think if they were
I
religious
think
and they had a Torah
Muslims.
theocracy and their only objective.
Not really. I think the hatred runs so deep now. The battle lines have been drawn so much. So many people have been lost to both sides of the conflict that it's just now a tribal blood feud in that area. And if, like, the militaristic strong state of Israel is seen to be eating itself apart, if it shows any weakness or if it loses the backing of America, one of the neighboring states is gonna roll tanks in, and you know that is a huge threat for that place. So anyway, I'm going to have to go. I've given you some food for thought. All right, I'll see you later.
Bye, Stephen. Thanks for
Bye
coming.
bye. You're welcome. Adios.
Peace in the Middle East through secular Quranism.
Maybe, maybe.
Well,
I think
okay,
it's easier
this
to.
is the
I think
only
it's
thing.
easier to join.
Pardon? What did you say?
I think it's easy. I think it's easier to make Jews more religious than to spread a new secular liberal ideology.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, um, you don't want to force anybody to say, oh, you've got to, pretend to be, whatever religion it is you want them to be, because they'll just, well, they'll just refuse. But if you have something that says, oh, we don't really care what you believe in, you just have to obey the laws. But and then say, well, they're fair enough, they're quite reasonable, and your ancestors used to follow it, and it's not as if it's beyond. It's still within living memory that white people, believed in these things and did these things. And look, I think all we need is control of the media. And then you can persuade all these people. It's like, well, we were wrong and we went off the right path at such and such a point and we didn't get it. Blah, blah, blah.
Hold on one second, Claire. Do you have the? Hold on one second.
But yeah, my little.
Do you have the? I'll be right back with you. Just keep talking.
Okay. So basically, what I'm proposing is well, I should really get in touch with Josh again.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Were
I'm
you
here.
talking or were you just sitting there
No,
looking
no.
at me?
I stopped talking.
Oh. Um, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about
We were talking
turning
about
Israel into a
Israel
tourist
and how
destination.
the
See,
yeah.
my plan is to make more Noahide so that they support the religious right in Israel. Um, and because they're against the liberal Jews, the Noahides. So,
Hmm.
when there's a billion Noahides, then Israel will have a billion supporters and billions of people sending them money and billions of people in government trying to protect Israel. So the Jews are a little bit stupid by going so slowly with these Noahide law things, and the reason they're scared, but I hope that my work has shown them there's nothing to be scared about because nobody cares. I mean, that what are they? Who are they scared of? Who's going to stop them?
Hmm. And I think people like Jordan Peterson might take
Who's
it
going to
up
stop them?
because I think he's kind of looking for a religion. So I think you should be kind of um, cultivating these people who are endlessly talking about Jordan Peterson, or at least make an appearance on the rando stream of Paul Van der Clay.
Can I switch? Yeah.
One second. Hold on a second.
Golden TV and this was these
Let me see. Do you know if this comes with the cables it needs or does she have to buy them separately? No, you gotta buy them. You need the HDMI cord and stuff, yeah. HDMI cord to what? What do you need? HDMI cord to what? HDMI to what, do you know?
let me look and I can probably
different HDMI to HDMI. It doesn't say HDMI. I don't know what has to plug into your TV. Micro USB, but it doesn't say where it goes to. Micro USB to what? But you need broadband internet, wireless router, TV with HDMI port. Oh, okay, it must go HDMI to HDMI. So HDMI to HDMI. 12 and 6 to 60.
HDMI to HDMI, that's what it says?
Yeah, you need an HDMI TV.
Okay, that I have. It's just that it's not. So they said that you can use this for not smart.
Okay, but you have an HDMI cable.
Something on the back of HDMI. This says 4K though, and this is not 4K. Is that right?
4K? What do you mean 4K?
There's one of these that says.
No, this should be just a regular HDMI cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should work with all HDMI cables.
Okay. Alright, let's try that. Let me bring it back if it's not the right thing.
I think so, yes.
Alright, and I think I want to.
If it's unopened, you can bring it back.
Okay, because I'll know when I get home if it's right or not. Let me take that too.
Okay.
Are you just being quiet?
Yes. Yes, I'm just checking. Responding to my notifications is what I'm doing.
Do you want coverage protection?
I know.
Press no. 1 second. Are you paying? Do you want coverage protection? Press no. Okay. You're paying with card?
Yes.
Go ahead. Hold on.
Wait.
No. Go ahead. It's working. There we go. Here you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your help. Hopefully it'll work out.
You too. I hope it works out. Okay, I'm back.
Good. Yes, what were we saying? What were we talking about? You're having a busy day, aren't
Well, we
you?
were still on the topic of that. It's a little bit, yeah.
We were talking about.
We were talking about Israel being a Torah theocracy. Yeah. We were talking about Israel being a theocracy.
Yes.
You were saying secular Quranism, because they wouldn't need a religion, is easier than a Torah theocracy because then they're being told what to believe.
Yes. But they just have to obey the laws, and the laws are not that, it is Islam light. And so, they wouldn't actually have to live under Sharia. And I'm saying that the Arabs and Muslims would actually hate them a lot less and be kind of interested to see how it goes and let them live just to see what happens to them. Or that's what I would do if I were an Arab.
Wow.
Are you serving another customer?
Hello?
Hi. Are you serving another customer?
Hello?
Yes.
No, I'm
Are you
done.
serving? Oh, right.
I'm
I
done.
wasn't sure what you were. You're done. Okay.
I'm done.
Right. Because you were saying something and then you stopped. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, we were just saying that it's easier for
7 people
right,
watching
they don't
now.
have to accept a religion. You were saying they said that you would just have to um
Obey the
implement.
laws.
You need help? Right, that they wouldn't have to believe in a religion and that it's easier for them to just follow secular Catholicism. But I have hope that the Orthodox Jews are having so many children. And again, my term is long term. My plan is long term. I am going to wait for liberal Jewry to die out through intermarriage and low birth rate. And I want to use that time to my advantage. I don't, you know, I'd rather liberal Jewry die out and Orthodox Jewry take over and turn Israel into a Torah theocracy than for them both to accept secular Quranism.
Mm-hmm. No, I suppose, but I suppose
It's just a lot
more
more
importantly
fun.
is well, the Jews aren't necessarily going to do what we want. I
I
mean,
won't get
they'll do
if
what they
things.
want.
I don't want. I want revenge on Islam. I want to go after Noahidism. I want revenge on the Christians and the Muslims because I want them to know their prophecies are wrong and everything that they believe in is wrong and it's not happening their way. Okay, it's not happening their way. And
Well, I suppose. Mhm.
I want people. I want people to know exactly what it is that they're fighting against and what exactly it is that is being made illegal. And I think Judaism, when it comes to questions of idolatry, when it comes to any question of the law, it's a lot more rigorous and nuanced. Okay, there's a lot deeper stuff going on, and there's a deeper intellectual level of things going on. And I think that would better prepare humanity to resist than something that's a little bit less intellectual and a little bit more physical. The war against Islam is a little bit more of a physical war, a little bit less of an intellectual war.
Really? I mean, it's both intellectual. I would have thought, and it's
It's
actually
not as
Muslims who are
intellectual as
talking about
Judaism.
it.
Claire,
Yes.
Claire.
Yes.
Okay, my headphone died, so I have to go.
Okay. All right. Talk to you.
Uh,
Talk to you
yeah,
again.
we've been going for 3.5 hours. I'll talk to
Pretty
you
good
again. Bye.
going. All right. Bye.